It's the final game of this three-game series between the Yankees and the Blue Jays. And how about those Toronto Blue Jays? They are back in first place now, a game ahead of the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers have lost 3 in a row in Milwaukee. Well, the Blue Jays have won 2 in a row here against the New York Yankees in what was supposed to be their toughest series of the year. Today, John Cerruti will be going to the mound for Toronto. Left-hander Steve Trout for the Yankees. Now let's go up top. Here's Don Chevrier and Tony Kubek.
And Fergie, Sparky Anderson called it just about right. He said if the Yankees were to retain a chance at all, they'd have to win at least 2 of 3 and sweep the Blue Jays. They're not going to do that. Virtually out of the race. As to the Tigers, they're finding Milwaukee oh so tough as the Blue Jays did earlier. But the attitude in the Blue Jay locker room, calm, determined, much like '85, Tony.
I guess it's too remote of a possibility to talk of an all-Canada World Series at this time. Montreal just 3 games behind the Cardinals. Toronto, the best record in baseball. It's not too early to start talking about manager of the year. Buck Rogers will be a big contender for that with Roger Craig. What about Jimmy Williams? He's made some tough and unpopular decisions, but he's stuck with them.
Jimmy is managing actively with the changes he's made. You've seen that in recent weeks. The whole Blue Jay organization very much involved in a hot pennant race. So are we. Stay with us on CTV.
Welcome back to Exhibition Stadium for this afternoon's final game with the Yankees here in Toronto this season, as the Blue Jays have won the first 2. And Blue Jay manager Jimmy Williams, you've really been on the hot seat lately because you've made some gutsy moves. You've taken Dave Stieb out of the starting rotation. You're using kids in the lineup called up from Syracuse. And I know it's Jimmy Williams' decision and nobody else's.
Well, there's certain things I think you feel like you have to do, Fergie, and like you mentioned, they're not easy decisions, but certainly if you feel within yourself that it's going to help the ball club to make those decisions and use different people to help you win, and that's what you're going to do.
What's the real reason you took Stieb out of the lineup?
Well, we just felt with the 4-man rotation, 3 left-handers facing Detroit, New York, Milwaukee, that we would be a better ball club. And in talking to those people that were involved, with 4 or 5 starts on 3 days rest, they felt they could handle it.
But here's a guy who's won 13 ball games for you.
It's just my decision. I have to live with it, and we'll just have to see what happens.
You see a guy like Dwayne Ward comes out of the bullpen yesterday, strikes out the side in the 9th inning.
He's contributed in other ball games too. Certainly, Jimmy Key was right around 100 pitches, like we talked about before. We're going on 3 days rest with a 4-man rotation. David Wells has contributed, and several of the other young kids too. Jose Nunez, even though he's been here all year long.
Whatever you've done, so far it's right. You're a game in front.
We have a good ball club, and I think our players really feel good about themselves right now.
All right, thank you. Good luck. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Manager Lou Piniella, winning's the name of the game, and right now you're behind the 8 ball. What's happened?
Well, we've had injuries this year that certainly haven't helped us. Early in the year it was with the everyday lineup, and now all of a sudden it's hit our pitching staff. They're part of the game, but they certainly haven't helped our ball club play as well as it possibly can all year. And none of the teams in this division are deep enough or strong enough that they can sustain the type of injuries that we had and be as competitive as we would like.
Is Steinbrenner putting any heat on?
No, he hasn't put any heat on. I'm the manager of the ball club. I put out the lineup. I do basically what I want with the ball club, and we're just trying to finish out the season as well as we can, and hopefully start winning the day. We've got Milwaukee coming in next week, and Toronto coming into New York, and we'd like to beat both those ball clubs. But no, I don't have any heat.
Lou, what's your gut feeling? Will you be back in New York next year?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. What I'd like to do is see this ball club play well the next 3 weeks of the season, and then whatever happens to me can be determined then. I'm signed through next year, so whatever happens, happens. I felt like I've done a good job here as manager for the 2 years I've had. Last year, we had a staff that was decimated by injuries as far as our pitching was concerned. This year we've had injuries again, so to have the club in contention like I've had it all year, I don't feel bad about the job I've done at all.
And he shouldn't. He really has done a good job. As you look at John Cerruti, Starting for the Toronto Blue Jays, a record of 10-3. He's faced the Yankees a couple of times this year. 1 win, 1 no decision. Roberto Kelly leads it off in center field. Then Willie Randolph. Don Mattingly bats third at first base. Winfield the DH, or the right fielder in the 4 spot. Ricky Henderson, who was the DH, is in left field today, and Gary Ward gets that role. Mike Pagliarulo's at third. Rick Cerrone, the catcher, hits 8th. Then Bobby Meacham, the shortstop, hitting in the number 9 spot. Tony?
You're looking at the best balanced team, and this is just part of it, the defense in all of Major League Baseball. You look at that outfield, which has been raved about by writers all over the continent. Kelly Gruber with the versatile Mullix behind him if you need him. Fernandez Liriano with that great speed and acrobatic brilliance at second. Fielder to platoon with Upshaw. Charlie Moore to spell red-hot Ernie Witt. And John Cerruti, who just coincidentally has 5 wins, no losses against the Eastern Division. And isn't that nice when you have a guy like can dominate the division that you got to beat?
Yet in terms of decisions, you have to go back to August the 24th when he beat the Mariners in Seattle by a score of 7-3. His last outing was in Milwaukee in the Blue Jays' 5-3 win on the first game of that series on Monday. He did not get a decision there. But a guy with a very resilient arm, he can start for you and on fairly short notice come right back out of the bullpen. So he is one part of the thinking of Jimmy Williams forming this 4-man rotation.
And of course, you get Dave Steve down there, and it has been controversial, as Fergie said when he talked to Jimmy. You get some help in the bullpen, some experience, a guy that can come in and strike people out, take some pressure off both Eichhorn and Musselman, who's got the tired shoulder, and a little bit off Tom Hinkie also.
Look at this crowd today fanning out. They expect it'll be in excess of the 45,600 odd who were here yesterday. The Yankees and the Tigers, the big draws right now, and the big story, along with the Blue Jays in the American League East. Roberto Kelly spent much of the year in Columbus. He leads off today for the Yankees. One of the rare occasions that Lou Piniella hasn't gone with his 2 aces off the top, Ricky Henderson, then Willie Randolph. Baltimore and Boston have been rained out today, and that game is good news of that rain out for the Toronto Blue Jays. It means that tomorrow when the Tigers go into Boston, they will face Roger Clemens. But Detroit is a hot pitcher starting too in Doyle Alexander. The count to Kelly is 2-0.
Kelly has outstanding speed. He stole 51 bases in the minor leagues this year. There's 3 steals without being caught since he became a Yankee. He's got a trace of power, and Lou Piniella, realistically, he will tell you he has not given up, but the chances are very remote that the Yankees could come back. 3 teams to jump over, but he's going to try some kids out now.
Kelly cuts it foul, 2-2. In fact, as I have suspected all along, I strongly feel now that Milwaukee will finish ahead of the Yankees and relegate New York to 4th place. The Brewers today sending a fine pitcher, Chris Bosio, against Walt Terrell of the Tigers, and they're looking for a sweep of that 4-game series.
And of course, the game is at Milwaukee's County Stadium, and Walt Terrell with his 13 wins, almost all of them have come in his home park in Detroit. He has difficulty winning on the road for some unknown reason.
But Sparky can't afford that luxury of just starting it at home. Kelly strikes out. Cerruti gets the first man. He'll pitch to Willie Randolph now, a first ball fastball hitter by tradition.
There have been a lot of people through the farm system of the Blue Jays managers and pitching coach who've said to John Cerruti, you've got to use your fastball more. Now, this happens to be a forkball, I believe. But finally, after a couple of years, John has listened to the old curmudgeon Al Widmar, and he's using his fastball more, which has made his forkball and little quick breaking ball a lot better.
Widmar know that you're calling him an old curmudgeon?
Ah, man. He's something. You talk about geniuses in the ball game. There's one right there.
You bet.
He will take what a pitcher has got, refine it, add to it, not change the pitcher completely unless he's hopeless. You know, a lot of people, sometimes the pitching coach is much more valuable than even a manager. Once the manager sets his lineup, there's some strategy decisions, but that pitching coach has got to work with those pitchers every day and have input almost throughout a ball game.
A strike taken by Randolph. It is 1-2 now. He's having a sensational year despite missing, what, a month or more after the All-Star game with knee problems. 51 RBIs. That is his 2nd highest single season total. He had 61 in 1979. He's got a chance to surpass that now, yet having missed a month. Cracks this down to the 3rd baseman. Gruber backs up. Good hard throw to Fielder, and Randolph becomes the 2nd out.
You can still see Willie still limping considerably. Needs to re-strengthen that knee after the surgery. I mean, the Yankees are at the state of depression, and with George Steinbrenner beating on him so much. But Willie is really depressed. He feels his loss really hurt the ball club. Montreal
They're
and
not
Chicago,
depressed, are they? The Expos, they got a chance.
3 games out.
The Mets' frustration continues against St. Louis. They got hammered yesterday. Having lost the first game in extra innings on Friday night, a must-win for the Mets, I'd say, today.
Bryn Smith pitching for Montreal against Rick Sutcliffe of the Cubs, and Sutcliffe has struggled with a finger injury since the All-Star game. Mets have David Cohn against Danny Cox of the Cardinals, if you're interested in pitching matchups.
One of the reasons the pitching matchups Jimmy Williams went to 3 left-handers starting in this series was this man, Don Mattingly.
Well, and Paliarulo, he's having a big year. You take a little bit of his power away. Mattingly third. His RBI production going down. He won't admit it, but after the bad back earlier when he was on the DL, he's also got a wrist and hand injury, so he's had to cut down his swing. He's not driving the ball as well, but he won't use it as an excuse.
The count is 2-1. Jimmy's strategy as to Mattingly was perfect yesterday. Don was 0 for 4. On Friday night, though, wasn't so good. He was 3 for 6. 2-2 to Mattingly right now.
Sometimes I think John Cerruti surprises himself how hard he really throws. He really has regained, and it started in spring training, a little bit more confidence in his fastball. I mean, he's not throwing 90 miles an hour, but at times he'll get the ball in the upper 80s.
Good movement, a very effective fastball when he uses it. Tries it there to Mattingly, and he gets a piece of it. 2-2, holding on the count to him. Crowd still coming in. Enormous traffic problems around the exhibition grounds today, and it will surely be in the 45,000 plus range this afternoon. A humid afternoon, but a pleasant day under partly cloudy skies.
How many years ago was it when Steve Garvey was a Dodger, when he referred to as the Chavez Ravine crowd as the 25th man?
Yeah.
And I heard that expression today. I think it was Rance Mullix who, in the midst of a card game way before the ball game, said, we got our 25th man right here in Exhibition Stadium. Of course, they talk about Minnesota, who could be in the playoffs with Toronto or against Detroit or maybe Milwaukee. But they have that 25th man in Minnesota.
Mattingly fights Cerruti and wins the battle to keep the inning alive for the Yankees.
That's what he and the Boggs is, and George Brett, when he's healthy, do so well. They fouled George Bell. They foul off the good pitches. He fouled a couple of good fastballs. Then Cerruti comes to him, gets the ball a little bit over the plate, and Mattingly jumps on it.
High, a little bit inside. He just fought it and won it. So Dave Winfield steps in now.
Who, after a long struggle after playing all those innings in the All-Star game, has gotten his bat hot again. He'll get 100 RBIs again before this is over with.
He's had a good week. 1 for 3 yesterday, a run driven in. 3 for 5 Friday, 2 for 4 Wednesday, 4 for 5 on Monday against Boston. 1-0 is the count to Winfield. 90 runs driven in for the Yankees this year.
George Steinbrenner pretty much directly blames Dr. Bobby Brown for the slump after the All-Star game. He's the league president, for not picking enough outfielders for the All-Star game and forcing Winfield to play that extra inning game. There wasn't another outfielder left. So in all the notes, some say that George had them do it every ball game since the All-Star game when he played all the innings. Dave Winfield has hit ... like a little over 200, although he's hot now.
Takes a strike. It is 2-1. He certainly qualifies for the show he appeared on last night, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, Dave Winfield.
One of the best contracts ever negotiated. Is he making $2 million a year, thereabouts, just like Jimmy Rice, Mike Schmidt, Mattingly just shy of that?
They canceled tag days for all of them.
You know, if all those guys are making that kind of money, what is George Bell worth off his year? What is Andre Dawson worth off his year where he hit almost 50 home runs? And George has got a chance at that.
George is struggling with a measly, what, 1.2 million?
Yeah.
But you're right, it's all relative, and he deserves the top rate in baseball, whatever the level might be. Cerruti checking out Mattingly at first base with 2 gone.
Ricky Henderson, when the count finally got to 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs, finally came into the on-deck circle. He had what looked like a massive press conference. Apparently, we think, unhappy. He's hitting in the 5th spot, not leading off. He's only 2 shy of the major league record by Bobby Bonds for leadoff hitter hitting a home run. But they wanted the speed of Kelly up there. He's still toying with that bad leg, so he took an awful long time to come out, didn't he?
He did. He's not the itchy today. He's actually playing a position left field.
but hitting 5th.
You can understand Lou's thinking in his situation. He's got to shake that lineup up, even if it means disrupting a Randolph or a Henderson. In this case, Ricky gets moved down and Kelly leads off.
Well, Ricky may be one of those on the trade block during the offseason. See what he can bring in return. Kids like Jay Buhner, close to being ready. Roberto Kelly, close to being ready, coming off the Columbus roster.
One thing about Ricky, when it comes to hitting triples, you'd think that he would be a natural, but it only comes from his bat once every 30 at-bats. There's the flip to Liriano.
Great forkball by Cerruti.
And that'll do it for the Yankees, wasting their only hit. The Blue Jays coming to bat on Labatt's Blue Jays Baseball on CTV. Well, the Yankees went fishing for pitching help in Chicago and came up with Trout. Steve is the first name, but he has not done very well in the York uniform. 0-4 with a .619 earned run average as the groans surround me.
Well, Trout not pitching to Steve Lake today as he did back in the Chicago Cub days, but he'll pitch to Cerrone, and he will face Nelson Liriano, then Lloyd Moseby, Tony Fernandez doing a good job in the 3 slot, George Bell, left field, Cecil Fielder backing up George Bell in the 5 spot, then Jesse Barfield in right, Juan Benitez, who's helped out already against left-handed pitchers DHing, Kelly Gruber at 3rd, and Charlie Moore, the catcher.
Trout's trouble has been walks, wildness. He was incredibly wild a while ago. They weren't even sure he could use him. They could use him, but he's settled down a lot better now. And you'll know early how well he's going to do. His trouble will show up early in a ball game. As you see the defensive support behind Steve Trout. Anderson, Kelly, and Winfield in the outfield. Pagliarulo, Meacham, Randolph, Mattingly with Cerrone catching.
I don't think manager Lou Piniella really wanted to start Steve Trout today.
No.
He brought a fellow up from Columbus, Al Leiter. As soon as he saw him, he saw he had a blister on his hand and couldn't pitch. So Trout, the one available, and he is thrown in to pitch. Just when he pitches well, and his good games, he had 2 shutouts before he left the Cubs. He'll get you 15 to 20 ground ball outs in the game, but he couldn't even throw a strike in batting practice after a while.
He wanted to use Gullickson. That would have meant taking a day's rest away from him. Well, Liriano greets him with a base hit to left. And that'll bring up center fielder Lloyd Moseby.
You've always hit against the New York Yankees. What is it? Something special about that team?
No, not really. I think there's always a couple of clubs that you hit well, and I think New York is a club that I hit well. But I think the main reason is that, most of the time we do play them in tough situations and tough times of the year, and I just like to think that I'm the type of player who like to come around when the time is right.
Jays now 5-3 against the Yankees. Ironically, Toronto swept the Yanks in New York. New York returned the compliment here, and the Jays, of course, have won the first 2 in this series.
Those are pretty good offensive numbers, to say the least, aren't they? Best all-around year Lloyd Moseby's had when you take in his defense, his throwing, power numbers, average.
But you keep looking at Lloyd as he takes ball 1. Year after year now as a 30-30 candidate. Only 8 in the history of Major League Baseball have made that club, but he's 8 homers shy. The stolen bases most surely will get him there, but the home runs, he'll be 8 shy. He is right now.
You know, those numbers sound so good, but to me, they're many times just playing with numbers. If they had let Henry Aaron run, how many times do you think he could have been in the 40-40 club? And Henry Aaron had great speed. Or Willie Mays.
He was 30-30 once. We're talking of home runs and stolen bases.
Yeah, I'm talking about, if they had let Aaron, I mean, he hit 40 home runs how many times? 8, 9, 10? He wasn't a running player, and it wasn't a running era. So, Henry Aaron deprived of that chance because the game was played differently. He didn't play on artificial surface. So 30-30 is good, and they talk about 50-50 or 40-40 for Eric Davis from Cincinnati, but they're letting guys run more, so they get those numbers.
Still strikes me as strange that only 8 players in the entire history of the game have done that.
Only
Bobby Bonds did it 5 times.
Only one infielder, Howard Johnson.
This year became the 8th, an unlikely candidate going into this season.
This is what Liriano does so well, even against a left-handed veteran like Trout. He's got him thinking about a stolen base. When they got Trout, it gave the Yankees too much of a sameness to their pitching staff. You want left-handers in Yankee Stadium, but all of a sudden you've got Righetti and Clemens out of the bullpen. They had Holland for a while, another left-hander. You've got Tommy John, Guidry. You had Rasmussen before he went over to Cincinnati. You had Trout. And hitters are looking at the same kind of pitching every series. sooner or later backs up on you.
I have a theory about Rick Rhoden, the guy they acquired from Pittsburgh, was such a great start for the Yankees, but now the second time around, he's not as effective as he was earlier. That can always happen when you change leagues.
He's been pitching with a bad shoulder for at least a month, and he's tried to pitch through it.
Osby popping it up. A chance, and the catch is made by Pagliarulo. One down for Tony Fernandez. And we've talked about the outstanding speed, although Tony has been slowed by that lingering knee problem. Of the top 3 hitters now in this Blue Jay lineup, Laureano, Mosby, and Fernandez all hitting in front of the power of George Bell.
I think it's interesting when they talk about George Bell and Jack Clark of the Cardinals as being the leading candidates in the MVP department, but they say if Tony Fernandez and Ozzie Smith, the Cardinals made shortstop, the 2 best in the game, without them, we would not be able to win it. Aren't they saying in a way that they're the most valuable player in the ball club? I mean, they all say, hey, without Jack Clark, we can get by, and they have. This weekend, he missed both games, and they beat the Mets twice.
You could interpret it that way, surely.
When you put defense in its proper perspective and on-base average and all else, and not just focusing on power numbers, you certainly got to consider Tony Fernandez and Ozzie Smith as far as balanced cast for MVP.
While I would love to see a Blue Jay Expo World Series, I would probably just as much like to see the St. Louis Cardinals play the Jays. I think it would be one of the most memorable series of all time, given the talent, the speed on both clubs, the variables. Great matchup. But there's a lot of baseball to be played yet, including a championship series before we get to that stage. 3 weeks worth of the regular schedule, and in 3 weeks from today. And Tony Fernandez with a 1-0 count, 1 out. Laureano, big threat to steal. He's 6 for 6 at first base.
When you talk about MVP balloting, you talk about consistency over 162 games. Tony's hit over 300 right-handed and over 300 left-handed.
327 overall. 2-0.
McLaren perhaps with a green light for Laureano if he feels he can get a good jump. 2 outs, 1 out. You may want to get him in scoring position, break up the infield with Tony from the right side. 2-0, not as good a pitch to run on, although it's a possibility, as 2-1. 2-0, you'd like your hitter to pick his pitch and drive the ball for extra bases. And the runner going, you might cut down his swing, it might distract him.
Now it is 3-0. And this has been Trout's problem. Wildness, falling behind, walking people, especially in the early going. And he sends Fernandez down to first base on his first pass of the day.
And perhaps the scouting reports have gotten around on Trout, and they're saying, hey, he is most affected when he is from the knees to the ankles, and those are balls, lay off. And if you make him get the ball mid-thigh, it's when he gets hurt.
Yeah, he's been wild low as much or more than wild high.
He's been pretty classy throughout all this turmoil.
Yes, he has.
He's had his explosion on occasion because he's got a volatile temper, but he hasn't responded back to George Steinbrenner's charges. He hasn't gotten that kind of contest with Mr. Steinbrenner.
George Bell bouncing back after a tough start to the Milwaukee series, taking a pitch on the nose. Came back the next day and hasn't missed a beat since.
He can no longer call me Pinocchio anymore, as he calls me in his Latin American dialect. I can call him that after he got hit in the nose.
Yeah, if he hadn't told a tiny little fib on Monday morning, you might not have got hit.
Mark Connors, the pitching coach, out. I'm sure he, along with the other coaches, wondering if
he calls you
they will be
Pinocchio.
back. Pinocchio. He's a Pinocchio.
Pinocchio. Well, that's not the same as Pinocchio, then, I hope. Probably a legendary great from the Dominican named Pinocchio. Great ball player.
Yeah. So, George, if you had your nose smacked as many times as I had, we'd call you Pinocchio, too. There he is. He's carried this ball club all year long with the bat.
McGuire's up there with him, though. George goes the other way. We'll score at least one. Over to third base goes Fernandez. Laureano makes it 1-0 Toronto. Bell's 120th run batted in.
And this is not a free hit for George. This is planned. He knows a sinker baller keeps the ball down. He's trying to get a ground ball to second base or the left side, get a double play, and George says, I'm going to take that shot the opposite way. And George is not just a hacker. He's a free swinger, but he's a very thoughtful hitter, and he picked the pitch that was down and went the other way to get the ball off the ground. Allows you to wait just a split second longer going the opposite way, and you can get more loft on the ball, and he drives in another one.
High to Cecil Fielder, the first baseman this afternoon, against the left-hander Trout.
Was it last week down where they were trying to get Trout back on the beam? Mark Connors took him down to the bullpen, had Rick Cerrone stand in to pitch to a hitter, and he ended up hitting Rick Cerrone. Couldn't throw strikes in the pen even.
That is out of play. They might do better if they had Rick Cerrone pitching to Steve Trout. He's pitched a couple of innings in lappers for the Yankees. A reminder of the copyright involving this telecast. Any use without permission is prohibited.
Well, see, Vance Law's been in about 3 ball games. His fastball's been timed better than the major league average of 85 miles an hour.
Vance Law with an entire family whose names start with V. What was the dog's name?
Can't remember.
Started with a V. Was run over by a Volkswagen, I remember. It was sad. 2-1 is the count to Cecil Fielder.
Fielder up at the plate trying to do the same thing. With Randolph shading towards second, a man on, trying to hit the ball the other way. That's why they tried to bury the breaking ball low and then make him pull the ball. He'll go the other way again.
3-1. Trout's struggle continues. Jays with a run already, and a couple of base runners to work with just 1 out here in the home first.
And the Yankees bullpen going already.
Not a happy sight for Lou Piniella to have to start them that soon.
Charles Hudson, who had a great start, went down to Columbus on the shuttle bus.
A long way into right center field. Off the wall. Fielder almost took it out of here, but he's going to score 2 runs. He clears the bases with a double. The Jays lead 3-0. So the Toronto Bats are booming hard and early off Steve Trout.
Toronto Blue Jays offense, they are 4th in the American League in runs scored. Detroit, Milwaukee, and the Rangers ahead of them. But all of a sudden, the Blue Jays bats have begun to boom against this soft Yankee pitching. Surprisingly, the Yankee pitching, they're 4th or 5th, right around there in the league in ERA. It's been the hitting that has really suffered this year.
That's over the season, but that's a little misleading in terms of their recent performance, certainly. Not a good road trip for the Yankees. Not a good month of September. Barfield takes ball 1. I tell you made the point earlier about Trout being down in the strike zone. The Blue Jays well coached to look for that, not only for balls, but that's what Fielder looked for and got. He did not miss a home run by very much. Every hitter Trout has faced, he started him off with a ball. This time, Barfield, a 2-0 count.
And Jimmy Williams.
Talk to him, yeah, Lou. Get the catcher out there. Cerrone goes to the mound.
Buy a little time for Hudson to get loosened up. Jimmy Williams continues, and he started this way back in April. He let the team know way back in spring training he was going to try and rest them. Then they got Benitez and Charlie Moore to help increase their efficiency against left-handed pitchers. He's used Fielder. He's used the kids.
It really wasn't a very good trade, as it turned out, for the Cubs and the Yankees, because Bob Tewksbury has been hurt. He hasn't been able to pitch for them. And
yeah, but they got 2 young arms that are more valuable than Tewksbury that went down. 2 of the best young arms in the minor leagues. Scheid and Wilkins.
Yep. For the future.
They got a chance in a couple of years to be good pitchers for the Chicago Cubs. And that's what the Cubs traded for. Not this year.
So really, it's a bad trade, present and future, for the Yankees. At least that's the way it looks now. 3-0.
Well, the Yankees made the worst deal they made was not making any at all, and that's getting Jack Morris, but nobody else wanted him either. Jeff Torberg, he's up to the booth with Stan Williams. The pitching coach sets some defenses. Charles Hudson should be ready.
Looks like a football coach with a headset on down there. That's a wireless remote unit he's wearing. Barfield gets the second walk of the inning for the Blue Jays, who will send their 7th man up in a moment, Juan Benitez. Just 1 out, and Lou is beside himself. He said, what else can go wrong?
Well, Nelson Liriano was the one who started off with the base hit to left, a couple of walks.
George Bell brought a run home, Fielder a couple home. Yesterday it was 13-1, a Blue Jay romp. Are we headed that way again today? Too soon to tell, depending if they make a pitching change and Charlie Hudson can shut down the Blue Jays. But right now, Trout's got his hands full. Every batter now, this is number 7. He started with a ball.
It's almost a shame because Trout's been a good pitcher, wasn't in the National League, and not happy with the pressure of this and the burden that was put on his shoulder that he was going to be the one to get him over the hump, and that'll be it for Steve.
Here's Lou. Yes, sir. Charlie Hudson. You get in here, see what you can do. Hudson's had a strange season, a tremendous start as you talked about, and then all of a sudden, bingo, they pulled him out of the rotation, made him a relief pitcher, which didn't please him. He also had a couple of side trips on the bus down to Columbus, which didn't please him either.
He picked up a win here. Good relief job. Hudson, and the next thing you know, he's gone. I guess it was Boston. Next thing he was down in the minor leagues after a good relief outing. So Charles Hudson with that great arm and great delivery comes in, but some say he's too laid back.
Well, he had a nice laid-back 7-3 when he got yanked out of the starting rotation.
Yeah, it's not unusual for a guy to have control problems. It's in the head usually. Steve Blass, who had the big years and pitched in the World Series for the Pittsburgh Pirates, lost it completely. Joe Cowley pitched a no-hitter. Now, he never had great control, but Cowley all of a sudden went home. He's going to go to the Instruction League because he couldn't throw strikes after a no-hitter. Won no games this year after a no-hitter last year. And Fergie's got a little conversation with Don Mattingly right now.
Don Mattingly, you've played for a few managers in New York over the years. What kind of a job, in your opinion, has Lou Piniella done?
I feel like Lou did a good job this year. I think the players feel comfortable with Lou. We come out of spring training very ready to play baseball, and I think we had a team together, closeness amongst us, and felt like we were going to win together. And, you know, for what Lou's had to go through this year, I think he's done a great job. We've had a lot of injuries. We've got a lot of guys who missed games, and he's kept us right in the race the whole year long.
What about George Steinbrenner and his interference with the ball club? He's done it again this year. How much has that hurt the club?
Well, we don't know. It seems like there's a time every year that Mr. Steinbrenner gets involved, and you never know how much it affects the team. Sometimes maybe it's a good effect. Maybe we start playing well. Other times we seem to go in a little tailspin. This year we seem to go in a little tailspin this year. So I don't know if it's a matter of him getting involved or we're just not playing good baseball.
Now, the Yankees, when they came in here and they beat the Jays, knocked Toronto out of first place, the first 3 days of July, looked like they were on their way. They just couldn't sustain it. At that time, no one took the Tigers seriously, but you do now. Here's Charlie Hudson. Good record. He's got a half-decent strikeout-to-walk ratio. And he is the man they will go to now to try to stop this Blue Jay tide here in the first inning, which is threatening to drown the Yankees. Juan Beniquez, lightly used pinch hitter, DH, who today in the DH spot brings a .319 average with the Blue Jays into this game. He takes a strike.
Well, you can go out and get a Beniquez, and that's something that the Blue Jays have tried for several years and were interested in a lot of veteran right-handed hitters for the DH spot. But what he's done is added so much off the bench. I mean, he can play so many positions, but he's a veteran hitter who knows how to hit with men on bases. Sometimes kids are over anxious. DP
might get them out of it. It does. Double play. So Hudson, who inherited a 2-0 count, did a great job there. Battling back, getting Beniquez to hit into an inning-ending double play. However, the Blue Jays strike for 3 runs. They collect 3 hits along the way, and the 2 walks didn't help Trout or the Yankees' cause either. 3-0 after 1. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. A 3-0 Blue Jay jump on the Yankees in the first inning. New York here in the second. We'll start with Ricky Henderson, then Gary Ward and Mike Pagliarulo. Talked earlier about Henderson not hitting a great many triples, but he feels he can steal third from second almost any time he wants. In fact, he has done so already in this series here. Why take the chance of getting gunned down to third? Here's the Western story. And Oakland just can't capitalize on the few misfortunes the Twins have had. Indeed, they've been few and far behind. A's trail by 3.5. The Royals by 4.5.
Oakland getting a Cy Young Award candidate year from Dave Stewart, who has won 19.
Yeah, he's a candidate. I'll tell you, the Roger Clemens comeback will at least put him in the running. He has had a sensational year after a late and a slow start.
Bert Blyleven pitched for Minnesota today against Tom Candiati.
Tight to Henderson. It is 1-1 to Ricky. He was 0 for 4 yesterday, 2 for 4 on Friday. He's been back for 10 games since coming off the DL September the 1st, hitting at a 286 mark since then. Behind the count now 1-2.
And when October rolls around, he most likely will lose that stolen base title he's had for 7 consecutive years.
Unless he steals about 6 a game. Cerruti turned around, recovered brilliantly to get the out.
He looked like a spaceman on that, didn't he? Bill Lee used to catch it between his legs, behind his back. Typical left-hander's follow-through.
Little pirouette,
Toward
here it
third
is.
base. He jams him with a cut fastball, and he says, I still got you, Ricky. Isn't it wonderful to have fielding pitchers like Dave Steve, Jimmy Key, John Cerruti? Over the course of 162, how many games do you pick up because your pitcher can feel his position and backs up and does things fundamentally well?
Wonder if any scouts from the National Ballet are here. St. Louis 3 up right now in the National League Eastern Division race.
Just another reason why the Toronto Blue Jays are sitting at the top of the league in team ERA.
This is Gary Ward. He's had a very productive season. 74 runs driven in for the Yankees, 14 homers. He was picked up as a free agent in the offseason. Cerruti working 2-0 to him. He sends it deep to right. Jesse will say goodbye to him. A 3-1 ball game now. Ward with his 15th home run for the Yankees.
That has been the Achilles heel of John Cerruti this year. That is the 26th home run he has given up this season. That is tops on the Blue Jays team. You know, a surprising number, though. The Blue Jays, in pitching in this ballpark, one of the best hitting parks in the entire game of baseball, they are second in the league as far as allowing home runs. Fewest home runs. Kansas City, least number of home runs in the American League, but they're playing in a big ballpark. So you would expect that. But that's an amazing stat, I think, even though Cerruti's had trouble in that area.
This is Mike Pagliarulo, the Yankees' third baseman. Gary Ward with a much better start to the season than his second half. Just hit his 5th home run since the All-Star break. Pagliarulo, a big surprise with 32 for the Yankees and 81 runs driven in. He's up there with a tie for Greg Nettles' second best season ever for home runs, 32, and 5 behind Nettles' all-time best, which is 37.
He's learned to handle left-handed pitchers a little bit better. He's worked hard with Don Mattingly and the hitting instructors, and Lou Piniella helped in that area.
And in the West, the Giants roll along. A big 5-game lead, 5.5 over Houston, dominating the Western Division.
You think there's turmoil created up top with the Yankees? Check out Mark's shot with Cincinnati, huh? Wow.
Here's Mosby collecting Pagliarulo's fly ball for the second out. Yeah, that team has disintegrated in a hurry. Owner, manager, players, nobody seems happy there, not even the fans.
Billy DeMars, their hitting coach, third base coach, has already resigned. He said he won't be back next year. This shot apparently put one of the best players in the game, Eric Davis, right in the middle of that situation when she brought Tony Perez as the hitting instructor in, and just, ooh.
Eric the Red. Rick Cerone. Hey, for a guy who almost had to beg his way onto the team back in spring training, he said, give me a chance, give me a look, I'll show you what I can do. He said a pretty decent year. You say he's even done a couple of innings of pitching for the Yankees and outrageous scores.
That looked like Joel Skinner coming out of spring training was the regular catcher, and then he just didn't hit well and affected his catching. Went down to Columbus on that shuttle. So many Yankees have. Injuries, as Don Mattingly told Fergie, have really hurt this ball club, but I think the morale of the ball club and the chemistry was destroyed from upstairs. You just can't do that to human beings and expect them to come out every day and perform for you. Not year after year.
Base hit to left for Rick Cerone. He keeps it alive with 2 gone. Yeah, if I were a Yankee, I'd want in my contract that I got the frequent flyer mileage to Columbus because I'd probably be able to go to Hawaii in the wintertime. I have a nice vacation.
Shortstop number 20, Bobby Meacham.
Breaking ball down right where Cerruti wanted it, but on the turf, Rick Cerone finds a hole. Kelly Gruber's a bat and a glove that's going to become very important against left-handers, and if postseason play is in the offing for the Blue Jays, nice to see him stay healthy, get in the groove.
And it's the 3rd hit off Cerruti, couple of singles and a home run. Now Bobby Meacham, the shortstop, hitting 9. Takes it inside for ball one.
There was a time this year when Meacham was sent down from the Yankees to Columbus, or vice versa, Columbus to the Yankees, and he had a round-trip ticket. So when he got there, he knew that within a couple of hours he was coming right back, or at least within a day or so.
Rudy pops him up. Gruber across the mound takes charge. That'll do it for the Yankees, but they get a run back on the blast by Gary Ward. Coming to the Blue Jays' second inning now. Cerruti and the Jays have a 3-1 lead. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. This guy in the middle can't decide if it's winter or summer. It is Tuke Day at Exhibition Stadium, which means colder days do lie ahead. And Tom Henke, the old weather forecaster from the farmlands of Missouri, told me, he said, I don't like it when it's this warm in mid-September. I said, why? He said, it means a very, very cold winter coming up.
Wasn't the Polish Pope wearing one of those yesterday?
I didn't notice. Are you talking about yourself or somebody else? I didn't see what you wore when you landed here. Kelly Gruber gets his first at bat from the number 8 spot to start the Toronto second inning.
17, Kelly Gruber.
Said Gruber, in terms of depth, is going to be a very valuable guy to have down the stretch in postseason if there is to be one. And the Jays start this day with a leg up by a game on the Detroit Tigers, who are floundering in Milwaukee.
Kelly's got to loosen up a little bit. He's become a little too mechanical in everything he does, and I think a lot of that's because of the injuries. And he's lost a little of that freedom and tightens up with the bat and the glove, and he restricts his bat speed.
Here's a prospect.
That's me right there. Oh, it's Roger Peckinpah.
No, but we'll get to you. As a matter of fact, there you are in 1963, getting ready to play the Dodgers in the World Series. How'd that come out?
I think we lost. Koufax, Drysdale.
4 games.
Padres. Oh, look out. Got him on the hand. Hudson moves him off the plate, and Kelly did a good job whirling out of the way to protect his hands. It's what Mark Connors wants them to brush people back. Fortunately, a grazing blow looked off the upper arm.
Got him on the meat, not the bone, it looks like, so he'll be all right.
Good tip for your kids with those batting helmets. Whirl backwards so that you can hit on the back. It still hurts, but it doesn't damage anything, and you can protect that face and, of course, the hands.
Much the lesser of the two evils. Charlie Moore, the catcher today, hitting in the number 9 spot.
Showed Bond, it gets by. I would think that's going to be a pass ball. Kelly's going to try it. No,
He had a thought because it came all the way back to the screen, and Cerrone couldn't find it for a second.
Jimmy was showing bunt, and then the ball looked like it sailed on Cerrone. It hit his glove, and I would think it's got to be a pass ball.
It is.
It's something they had trouble with. That was one of the big, well, the big sore points when Mr. Steinbrenner came out with the press. Supposedly, the Lou Pennell in confidential meeting called Mark Salas a bum that he couldn't catch and said that Ricky Henderson was Jake and didn't want to play. And Lou has had to smooth those waters over as much as he could.
All that plus his regular job of managing. So he got a hit by pitch to first base and a pass ball to second. Parking Gruber there.
Now he'll try and go the opposite way.
Lays down a great-looking bunt.
Whoa!
Tell you, that was close. Charlie thought he beat it out. He's dancing in frustration down past the bag.
You want to see a team playing tentatively? That's Greg Kosk, the first base umpire, on a bang-bang call, but Charlie Moore does his job. Jimmy Williams trying to pad the lead. So a lot of managers wouldn't have done that, especially in the DH league on artificial surface. The infield in, he might have let a right-hander hit, at least try and hit the opposite way. Jimmy trying to get that extra run.
Very close at first base.
It'll force the infield in.
Nelson Laureano, who singled to start the game, then scored.
The Yankee team is shell-shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been playing this way for quite a while now, but you looked at even Hudson was hesitant what he was going to do with the ball.
Yep, their season really turned in a hurry. 2 weeks ago, and it's gotten a lot worse. They really thought they were going to be in it and a factor, but they've seen themselves just lose ground day in, day out. 3-1 here with Gruber at third base now. Chance to score on a fly ball from Laureano. Hudson gives him a strike. As you look at the president of the Tony Kubek fan club there waving to us.
BJ.
Yep.
About
That's your boy.
About time for him to go south.
Darn soon now. He may stay a little longer to see what happens postseason. The Geese will beat him out of town. Well, there's the fly ball. Not very deep. It will be caught.
Didn't tack up. Kelly was, and he did the right thing. John McLaren had him go about halfway because he knew if he made a catch with any kind of chance to throw, it was too short for him to tag up and score. And McLaren had him go about a third of the way down. If it dropped it, he's going to score. But Roberto Kelly shows that speed and makes just a great catch. Who said the shoestring catch?
Wow.
Is out on artificial surfaces.
Well, a tough play for him, too, in terms of judging whether to let it drop in. If he does, it's going to cost him a run. If he catches it, sure, it's shallow enough it may not score a run, but God help him, whatever gets past him.
He's got that constant that Ricky Henderson had before the pull hamstring. Speed, which you can't take away from a guy. It's there day in and day out. That's why they like him so much.
So the ingredients all fall in place for the Jays. They get Gruber to third. They get the fly ball, but it's too shallow to score him. And Lloyd Moseby, who popped up to Pagliarulo in foul territory, now stands in there with 2 gone. Cerrone wants to talk to Hudson, who starts his hitter off 1-0. We'll keep you informed on Milwaukee and the Tigers. They should be starting in about 15 minutes over at County Stadium.
Don't know how the Yankees work it. Usually a pitcher has an option in this situation to pitch from the stretch or wind up, whichever way he feels he's most effective. But Cerrone may have asked him to pitch for the stretch or may have talked it over with him in case he bounces a breaking ball with Gruber down there.
Moseby fouls it back even now to ball and a strike. The Jays meet Baltimore next, Tony, and boy, the Orioles are really sagging. They probably applauded today when that game was rained out in Boston.
Well, they ended up last season about as bad as any team could. What were they, something like 12 or 14 and 40-some losses to finish last season? They started off terribly this year. Had a good run after the All-Star break, had the winning streak. Now they're going backwards again. But they're looking at some kids and trying to work their pitching staff a little bit more.
This year eliminated for on one of the earliest dates in their history from the pennant race. 2-1 to Moseby. Well, Baltimore and the Blue Jays for you Wednesday from Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. We're going to see Mike Flanagan. No, we're not going to see Jimmy Key in that game. Flanagan will oppose Jose Mesa, one of the players sent to Baltimore in the Flanagan deal on Tuesday.
Clear that Pat Gillick, with that great arm, didn't want to give up, but you had to get something to get something, and you got a guy that perhaps going to get you over the hump with Mike Flanagan.
A double take from Moseby. He thought that was ball 3, but it's a 2-2 count. Plate umpire today is Larry Barnett.
If you wanted to look at a pitcher's body and a real smooth delivery with great arm extension, you say, look at Charles Hudson. But the delivery and the durability of his arm doesn't tell what's inside, whether or not he knows how to pitch. He's got the ability, and he had it at Philadelphia. Concentration wonders or what happens, but he's got great stuff.
3-2. The pitch is tight to Lloyd.
It's interesting, that conversation Fergie had earlier with Moseby about hitting the Yankees so well. When you realize, and obviously Lloyd, percentage-wise alone, is much better against right-handed pitching, but the Yankees throw much more left-handers at you, many more left-handers, and he's hit them better. He just lifts himself up a little higher plateau, I think, against them.
Pagliarulo's throw is high, but Mattingly hangs onto it in time to get Moseby. They strand Kelly Gruber, who started the inning, getting on board at third base. Not a routine play by any means for the third baseman Pagliarulo, coming over into the shortstop hole and then gunning down his man with a high throw. So 2 complete, 3-1 Jays on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Lloyd Moseby getting the glasses, still shaking his head as he walks out to center field. It was the last out of that second inning.
I think Tommy Craig, who plays Ken Carson, has done a marvelous job. This team, and a lot of its youth, a lot is the conditioning program and the strength programs all year long that Kenny Carson instituted and Tommy Craig. They've been relatively injury-free, but the amazing thing is that look at Mike Ferraro and Stump Merrill at third and first for the Yankees, is that they can get him back playing through some of these injuries. The treatments that Tony Fernandez has gone through every day for that knee, and he just goes out there and plays on it somehow.
And scares you every time he extends it.
Of course, a lot of it, too, is you got a manager who's a motivator. He's going to be able to find a way to get his guys to keep going out there. And Jimmy Williams has done that, too. And he did it much better this year than last year.
Now there is the trainer talking to the manager about the Mosby situation. Good-looking bunt laid down. They're going to pray it goes foul, and it does. A smart move by Kelly Gruber, who really didn't have a chance, but when he reached the ball, had to hope it rolled foul and did.
Now, the way Roberto Kelly runs, and this is knowing your own ballpark. Even though Kelly Gruber knew he had great speed, he might bunt. He saw it. It was a perfect bunt right down the line, which is where they try and do it. So the third baseman doesn't have a good angle to throw.
Helps
He's running
to know the
away
lay of the
from first
land.
base. Yeah.
So Kelly will come back and reload.
I still think he's got a chance to be a star in this league. There's some people who have become doubters, that he's a little bit too robotized and doesn't have instincts and so forth. But you can't teach great, strong throwing arm, power at the plate, running speed. He's got those qualities.
They don't have schools for that.
He'll go as long as his head will allow him to.
Now Kelly hitting it the right side. Has a couple of strikes. Remind you, the Labatt's player of the game for Toronto receives the new Canon EOS, the ultimate autofocus SLR camera. Faster, quieter, more sensitive than ever before. The Canon EOS is much more than a camera's ever been. Also, an amateur baseball team will be the guest, the player of the game at Canon at a future game. And the Arthur Squirt baseball team is here today.
Noah's sister, Mabel Squirt. Well, Squirt's not the man's last name. That is a class of baseball, like Little League, midget,
Very
Pee-wee.
descriptive term in terms
Squirt.
of the size. The Squirts are here today. Willie Randolph now. Grounded to Kelly Gruber at third base, his first time up.
His injury hurt this ball club the most. They held their heads above water when both Henderson and Mattingly were out for an extended period of time. When Randolph went out, they found out how valuable a middle infielder, a skill position, who can hit, and his leadership qualities. When he left the diamond, that knee surgery, they started going downhill with their offense. And he's so valuable defensively, making the pivot. He added the stability for Wayne Tollison, who since has gone down with a sore shoulder.
Well, Tony, if you look, you see where Willie Randolph missed 38 games this season. Ricky Henderson, 59 games. Mattingly, 23 games. That's the story.
And you know, Lou's still got a chance with this Yankee club to win 90 ball games. He's got a chance to do it with his stopper in the bullpen after a record last year, Dave Righetti, having an off season.
Could fill a couple of hospital wards with injured Yankees this year, 12 on the DL at various times. Fielder ranging way back will give way now to the right fielder Barfield. He makes the second out of Randolph's fly ball.
Doesn't he make it easier on the second baseman and first baseman? And probably the toughest play there is, aside from the 3-6-3 double play for first baseman, is to go back on that ball in foul territory with a little wind.
Well, the Orioles fly in tomorrow. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday games here in Exhibition Stadium. Good reserved seats and general admission seats available for all three dates. The Orioles are not a factor, but they may have something to say about where the Blue Jays finished. We'll have the Wednesday game for you on CTV. Now the menace of Mattingly with two gone. And they're going to get him out very easily. George Bell crossing over, makes it in left center field. 3 up, 3 down Yankees here in the New York third inning. Blue Jays holding their 3-1 lead on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball here on CTV. Live at Exhibition Stadium. Way out there in left field. Nova Scotians also with us.
Well, what was that city? Cheticamp?
Nova Scotia, I know that for sure.
I keep getting
I'll leave you to the
geography
towns and
lessons from you.
cities of Canada.
Heck, you can run for election pretty soon with all the towns that you've mentioned over the past few months.
Yeah, there's a lady in our mobile unit may run me out of town if I keep it up. She has to answer all the phone calls about all the mistakes we make. Stephanie Williams. Tony Fernandez, who walked and scored in the first inning, is an 18-game hit streak alive. That is 3 shy of a club record. Takes that up by the year. It is 1-1.
You know, there are MVPs, Rookie of the Years. They ought to have a category, the player you most like to watch play. He's one, Fernandez, and the other one is Ozzie Smith, and I'm biased, obviously, to that position. When you talk about smooth, quick, bat, knowledge of the game and the feel for the position, the man right there's got it, Tony Fernandez.
We've talked about it. It's the one guy the Jays would hate to lose, and there were some shaky moments the last 2 or 3 weeks with that knee of his, but it's responding nicely.
You won't see Tony's batting stance against various pitchers with different deliveries and different styles the same too often. You know, that pitcher really, even though he's a defensive player supposedly, but when he's got the ball, he's an offensive player, obviously. But Tony takes a lot of things away from the pitcher by changing his stance and his approach to hitting, moving around in the batter's box. They never can get a beat on how to pitch him, and being a switch hitter, that adds another dimension, obviously, because they've got to worry about him from both sides.
It all
is he
adds
high
up.
ball, low ball? Is he at breaking balls better, fast balls? And when he adjusts like this, it makes it even tougher to get a read on him.
As a result, he hits .327.
He does a lot of that with great hand-eye coordination. That's his defense also.
Mattingly unassisted for the first out of this 3rd inning. So Tony will have to wait another at bat to try to extend his hit streak. Be nice if we had a Fernandez watch the final 3 weeks, along with the monitor watch we had earlier in the season over in Milwaukee.
Charles Hudson, since coming in, has been pitching inside an awful lot. He's already hit Gruber. He's come inside to a couple of other hitters. And the guy you'd like to come inside is George Bell, because he likes to dive into the ball and likes the ball away.
Bell singled into right field and drove home the first run of the game, Laureano, for his 120th RBI in the 1st inning. High, he just couldn't hold back. Took his rip.
To me, George has made the best prediction from a player I've heard all year long, and this goes way back to March in spring training when he said, I'm going to hit a lot more home runs. I don't know if he thought this many more. He said, I'm going to change my stance, pull the ball a little bit more. Do you think anybody ever believed he'd hit as many as this?
One every 3 games from now on will give him 50. Jays have 21 games remaining as he strokes that to the shortstop, Bobby Meacham. Vacuums it up and guns down Bell for the 2nd out of this 3rd inning.
Most hitters right-handed would have struck out on that pitch because it was a great breaking ball, low and away, maybe out of the strike zone. And Bell, with that great control of the strike zone, he almost hit it for a base hit.
Question may involve as much hoping as thinking. But do you think there will be an All-Canadian World Series this year? And there are the numbers to call. I'd like to hear from you. Expos have a shot, and so do the Jays, certainly. New York, they keep touting Subway Series every year, which never materialize. I guess in Canada you'd have to call it a what? A Via Rail or a Rapid Air Series. Montreal and Toronto. A 401 series offers Paul Beeston, the Blue Jays vice president, ever so alertly here in our booth. He likes to drive rather than fly or go on the train.
Alertly, the man was sound asleep in a stupor till you woke him up and heard his name.
Answers when called. Fielder fouling it back. It is 1-2.
I wish there'd be a wind shift with that cigar smoke. This is incredible. This is one of those 9-cent cigars at Beeson.
John Hudson from TV Labatt, right behind us, always looking over.
Very popular man at McGregor Bayville.
That is the one place he is popular. You're right. With the fish, he leaves them alone.
Jimmy Williams resisting the temptation this early in the ball game to change his lineup around against Hudson, a right-hander, and go to his left-handed hitters. He doesn't want to do it too soon. Some of the left-handers they've got in the bullpen.
Oh, I thought for a moment we succeeded in forcing Paul out of the booth, but he sits down again. He'll stay for more. 2-2. The appeal denied down at first base. Umpire Greg Kosk says no swing. Minnesota leading Cleveland 2-1 in the 3rd inning. Milwaukee and the Tigers just getting fired up at County Stadium. They'll be underway shortly. And Fielder strikes out. So Hudson extremely effective since coming on for the Yankees in relief of starter Steve Trout. Retires the side here. 3 complete. Tony coming right up. And that's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
When Dave Winfield of the Yankees agreed to be a head table guest at the '86 Conn Smythe Sports Celebrities Dinner in Toronto, he commissioned artist Terrence Fogarty to create a painting showing the Jays winning the '85 championship. There it is. There are still a few left. Proceeds will go to MS. They're $150 each. I think there are about 60 or 70 of these lithographs of the original painting left. So there's the number to call if you'd still like one.
Will there be another Fergie if the Blue Jays stay on top of these final 3 weeks?
John Cerruti will face Dave Winfield, hitting in the cleanup spot, then Ricky Henderson and Gary Ward DHing. 3-1 Toronto in the fourth. Only Yankee run. Ward with a home run in the second. Fly ball, left field corner. Will it be trouble? Bell back to the wall. It is 3-2. Winfield with a home run.
Number 25 for Dave.
So many times during the course of the summer, that wind comes through that little wind tunnel in the left field corner and keeps those kinds of long fly balls in the ballpark. Not today. 3-2.
Cerruti, who's given up the most home runs on this staff, now is a total of 27 for the season against him.
I have often wondered if, when Dave Winfield was a free agent, if he had signed with the Blue Jays or Atlanta or the Chicago Cubs or Fenway Park, if he wouldn't have signed a sure ticket to baseball's Hall of Fame. But in Yankee Stadium with Death Valley and left center, and right center field, he gets a lot of home runs taken away. But if he had signed in a hitter's ballpark instead of for the cash, oh boy.
Yep.
He may still make it because he's a great all-around player. Tell Mike Geisler how he did it. A ball and a strike now to Ricky Henderson. He grounded out in the second. A nice play by John Cerruti.
We talked before the game about the old all-fish team. Thinking of Steve Trout, you mentioned Bass. Who would you have at third base?
I wouldn't bite on this fish story. You're not going to hook me with this, baby.
Kelly Grouper.
I'd put Chico Simone there. Tigers versus the Blue Jays. That's a 4-game series. 7:35 start, the 24th of September. This baby could very well, the Eastern Division, balance space swing on that series, or perhaps the last series of the season. Get your tickets early, folks, because there aren't going to be many left. I understand the scalpers have been out for this Yankee series. You know, the Yankees not mathematically eliminated, but almost impossible for to win this now, for them to win it with 3 games to teach 3 teams to jump over.
It could be a best-of-7 showdown. Tigers and Jays.
One of the most dynamic leadoff hitters in the history of the game, although hitting 5th today. Fouled out of play. Ricky Henderson. I think Reggie Jackson had about one of the best lines, and he usually is very eloquent in what he says. When he talked about Ricky, he was stealing those 100 bases, hitting almost 30 home runs. Said he's the only guy in baseball, this is before Eric Davis came along, can turn a walk into a triple, steal 2, and defensively turn a triple into an out. That great speed. Not this year. 2-2 count from Cerruti to Henderson. Larry Barnett behind the plate. One of the best in the American League. Wonder if he minds the replays up on the board here. If you're a good umpire, why would you mind if they put a controversial replay on the board? It'd make the umpire sharper. Make you better, wouldn't it? Make you bear down a little bit more.
Yeah, I would think so. You just don't want to get the fans too riled up, but they're going to get riled up anyway if they don't see the call they want.
If Larry Burnett could survive the controversy in the '75 World Series in the Armbruster Fisk call, he can survive a controversial replay. Tried to backdoor him with a breaking ball, fouled out of play by Henderson.
And that's a number again for the remaining posters depicting the '85 clinching of the Eastern Championship of the Jays.
Three to 2, Toronto in the 4th. Liriano just out of his reach, but what an effort. So Henderson is out.
And the Yankees suddenly are knocking on the door. Tying run at first base now as Gary Ward will step to the plate.
Hitter number 22.
Henderson hit an awfully good pitch. You
Sure
could
did.
see Charlie Moore was going to almost scoop that breaking ball out of the dirt, and Henderson went down and got it out of that severe crouch. Liriano playing him about straight away, but hit crisply and on the turf it sneaked by.
Now, in that crouch, would you not want to pitch a hitter like Henderson higher rather than lower?
Well, if you can get the strike, you pitch him higher, he takes it. It's a ball. Jose Nunez, who, if he's called, will perhaps put a little relief appearance in for the Minister of Sports from the Dominican Republic, who is here today, Andres van der Horst. Come to see George Bell, Tony Fernandez, Nunez, Nelson Liriano. Winfield let it off with a home run that just barely scraped the fence in left field. Henderson with a single. Now it's Ward who homered as a DH in the second.
5 hits, 3 singles, 2 homers given up by John Cerruti so far.
They got Ward in the offseason, a free agent, to help them against left-handed pitchers. And he did a lot of that the first few months. But then when all the injuries hit, he and Claudell Washington called the play day in and day out and perhaps wore him down. He was a valuable addition, but more as a part-time player, bench player, than an everyday player. 1 ball, no strikes. Cerruti to Warren. Ricky has stolen 29 and caught 6 times.
Those are great numbers for a lot of ball players, but not for Ricky Henderson.
He's already had 3 100 stolen base seasons in his career, and he's not an old guy. What's Ricky, about 27?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
In fact, another man whose name will be in the Manager of the Year candidacy in the American League, Tom Trebelhorn, the manager of the Brewers. Everybody knows who he is now. They did it in spring training. But he had Ricky Henderson as a kid in the minor leagues, the Oakland chain, and Henderson says that he taught me more about stealing bases than anybody else. Saying a lot because Billy Martin taught Ricky Henderson quite a bit.
If I delve into the Yankee Guide, I find that on Christmas Day, he will be 29.
So Cerruti falls in the hole. 3 balls and no strikes to Gary Ward. John has not yet walked a Yankee. He has struck out 1, but he's in a deep hole now. He may be paying a little too much attention to Ricky Henderson. As Trout may have been to Liriano in the first. Ball 4. 2 men on, nobody out. And Mike Pagliarulo will come on and bring a trip from skipper Jimmy Williams, who has become his own man. His first year, some said it was a Bobby Cox team, a team that won. Jimmy didn't do much with it. It was a lineup that had been successful, won a division, lost the Kansas City Royals for the American League pennant. You saw last year, I guess it was about July or August, you can't put your finger on it, where Jimmy was starting to think, hey, this is my job, my team, and he became a great believer in the Harry S. Truman axiom, the buck stops here, and he said, hey, if the buck's going to stop here, I'm going to make the decisions, popular or not. He's made some unpopular ones with his players, but he's also gained more respect.
If the buck stops here, I'll make change if I have to.
Number 13, Mike Pagliarulo.
He has proven he's a mentally tough guy. Somewhat phlegmatic personality, doesn't talk a whole lot, may not be controversial in his statements, but doggone, he's done a job this year. Pagliarulo flied to center field in the second. He's got 2 on with nobody out. The Jays leading 3-2 in the 4th. Nunez should be ready if needed. He's bunting. Fouls it off.
Now, we've seen Jimmy the last few weeks in particular assume the image of a manager who would rather err on the side of speed than of laying back and letting things happen to him. He may be, if you want to follow him, be a little too quick in some situations, but I'll tell you, he's got a high percentage of being right.
Well, he's done. You know, Sparky Anderson had the quick hook with a great Cincinnati team. Some say he had too quick a hook, perhaps got the bullpen too worn out. But now with the kids he's using, the bullpen's getting a little fresher. Pickoffs.
Nobody home.
The Bronx Bombers in the 4th inning. Pagliarulo with all those home runs. Look where he is, sacrificing on the first pitch. He's going to do it again, and there goes Henderson. It's going to be trouble. Moore's going to let it
There it goes.
roll foul, and what a play by Charlie. He kept with Henderson running and Ward right behind him. They had no chance for play at third. Kelly Gruber had to go back to cover third in the steal attempt. Watch Kelly on this great left center field shot. He knows it's a steal, so he isn't going to feel his bunt. Cerruti couldn't get there in time, and Charlie blocks Cerruti off and lets it go foul. A good play by Moore. They were going to get nobody. They were going to be loaded up. Now at least they've got a chance to get an out on Pagliarulo with a 2-strike count.
So twice today, this exhibition stadium field has tilted in the Blue Jays' favor.
A lot of English, like Willie Hoppy. The ball rolled foul. Lou Piniella thought he had the bases loaded and nobody out. Not a lot of aggressive baseball right there in the 4th. The guy who just had a home run, a single, 4 pitches to Ward for a walk, and you have a home run hitter, even though he's left-handed up there sacrificing. He's playing tentative baseball.
I was going to say, when you said that, the Jays would probably prefer the bases loaded, nobody out, to a 3-run blast here by Pagliarulo.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Cerruti, who had a 3-up, 3-down inning in the 3rd, got shocked by Winfield's home run leading off. Now Fernandez is going to try and calm down. Another intangible that Tony Fernandez possesses. At the age of 25, a team leader in his quiet way.
I've got the feeling, Tony, I don't know about you, that it may not be 15-14 as the score was one night here in July. But this could be a high-scoring ball game. Cerruti was the starter, incidentally, in that 15-14 loss to the Yankees.
Blue Jays have won 8 of their last 10 ball games. They've got a game lead over the Tigers, 6.5 over Milwaukee, 7 over the Yankees. Pickoff.
Out of time to get that guy.
Well, they're just trying to keep him a little closer, not necessarily the steal at this point, but from wandering too far and stealing signs of location and flashing him to the hitter Pagliarulo. Get Henderson to think more about Liriano and Fernandez than flashing signs of location to Pagliarulo. 1 ball, 2 strikes, nobody out. Cerruti trying to prevent a big inning. He'd like to have no runs. He's got him. He had Henderson taking a little stunner step, and Tony almost caught him in between.
I thought he had him, too.
There are so many pitchers who do not like to whirl and throw to second base, and Henderson knows this. But when you've got Fernandez with that great glove there, he just barely got back. It was close. Tony almost stepping on the fingers of Ricky Henderson. Bobby Grich in that play, when he was playing, it put his knee down there and blocked you off when you dove head first. Still 1 ball and 2 strikes. He's going to go again. Look out.
Throw wasn't as good that time.
Now, Cerruti has got to make up his mind. If he can't do this to that, Charlie Moore's going out. Good move, Charlie, to say, okay, now, we've done what we want to do. I'm not saying don't throw there anymore, but you've got one thing you've got to do. You are 0-2 on Pagliarulo. He's the man you've got to get out. You're 1-2 now. And worry about Henderson a little bit, but once you commit, make sure you're going to make a quality pitch and try and finish off Pagliarulo.
Yeah, with Pag's power, you don't want to lose your concentration with him at the plate.
Which is what a healthy Ricky Henderson does better than anybody in the game. I guess you'd have to put Vince Coleman in there too now with his 100 stolen bases. Divide the attention of that pitcher and catcher.
And Liriano will do it for the Blue Jays, too.
A ball and 2 strikes in a 3-2 ball game. The Jays ahead. Fly ball. Lloyd with the glasses down. Now he starts after it. He's got it. Henderson will tag up, but he won't challenge the arm of his Oakland buddy.
That wasn't very deep. That's a big out. Now they got a shot at the double play with Cerrone coming up.
Ricky Henderson looks like he's got his head and his legs in the game now. There were some that questioned that just a few weeks back when he was on the disabled list for a lengthy period of time.
The catcher, number 6.
Well, the back of the leg hurt. The head said no, and he stayed out, as you say, for a long, long time.
When you look at a Ricky Henderson, he's a very muscular young, short person, and his legs are so big, and when he gets a pull muscle, it's going to linger for a while, especially with his quickness and the way he accelerates. Now he has an even better situation with a right-handed hitter up if he wants to steal third. A strike to Rick Cerone, who singled in the second.
As you know, in the case of Ricky, he tried to come back way back when he first had the injury and simply made it worse and said, no more of that. I'm going to wait until it's completely healed.
And they put him into pinch run when he was not disabled at one time, and he injured it trying to steal second base.
Yep.
Pick off from Liriano. Pick off decoy. 1 out, 2 men on. The length of the games of the past few years, perhaps the principal reason, the emphasis on base stealing games and pitchers trying to hold him on, stepping off, throwing over. He's going. He's going to second. Charlie Moore. Well, Charlie made an outstanding play, but he didn't get Moore. It looked like Charlie couldn't get the ball out of the glove.
Wrong side of the bag. We might have had him.
With 1 out, he was going to get the slower of the 2 runners, Gary Ward. He didn't feel he could get Henderson, having to throw over the head of the right-handed hitter Cerone. And it looked like Charlie just got the ball stuck in the webbing, and then, as you said, a good point down, got it to the wrong side of the bag. And now they're runners on second and third for the Yankees, and Rick Cerone with 1 down.
That's a big play. He takes away the double play and gives the Yankees 2 guys in scoring position with 1 out.
Charlie had a good idea, but I think that glove with the webbing preventing him from getting a good grip and getting a lot of zip on the throw. 1-1 count to Cerone. Gruber comes a little closer at third, and Fielder at first. The middle of the diamond, they're back at normal depth. And Cerruti still worried about Henderson. Could be playable. Henderson will tag at third. Will he challenge Barfield's arm? I would doubt it.
Nope.
Look at this throw by Jesse.
Oh, it's on the money, too. Against speed, and the arm prevailed. The speed went back to third.
A man who had 40 home runs last year, led the league in assists, and he's going to watch the board and admire his style as he sees the throw. That's what you call inner confidence. Some call it cockiness, but Jesse said, I think I'll take a look at that. So he watched the scoreboard in right field to watch his mechanics.
Well, he didn't get to see it the first time. Everybody else did. He deserves a chance.
Now it's Bobby Meacham. Cerruti trying to pitch out of this first and second jam with nobody out. Then second and third with 1 out. A strike to Meacham, hitting in the 9th slot. There's your score. Jays lead by 1.
Cerruti has worked his way down to the part of the order where he could get himself out of trouble. He got Cerone, a 237 hitter. Now Meacham with the 239 mark coming in.
Base hit Meacham. Bell may have a play at Ward at the plate. Here comes George's throw. It will be little offline and a good slide away from the tag by Ward. So the steal, and not getting Ward at second base on that double steal, gets a couple runs. Isn't that something?
Huh.
He gets Cerone, he got Pagliarulo, and then Bobby Meacham, who's been maligned by the owner and everybody else in this Yankee organization, drives in 2 to give the Yankees a 1-run lead. The ball hit and tailed off just a little bit from George Bell, and that'll be it for John Cerruti.
Yeah, it never fails. A 239 hitter with 11 RBIs burns you. Gives the Yankees the lead.
A little bit of drift on the throw from George Bell, carried in the foul territory, and Charlie Moore couldn't make a tag. So Meacham with 2 RBIs on his single sends John Cerruti to the dugout.
After being staked to a 3-0 lead, he suddenly leaves this ball game, standing in the potential role of loser, down 4-3.
Your attention, please. Now pitching for the Blue Jays, number 45.
So the Dominican, Jose Nunez, comes down to face Roberto Kelly, the Panamanian, hitting in the leadoff spot with a runner on first and 2 down, and the Yankees ahead by a run. Nunez, 4 wins, 1 loss. ERA just under 5. had some control problems, giving up the odd home run, but he's got a great arm. While he's tuning up, let's look in an Esso scrapbook piece.
The Esso Baseball Scrapbook with Tony Kubek, Major League player and broadcaster.
The batter is entitled to first base when he is touched by a pitch ball or hit by pitch. But like most rules in baseball, there are significant exceptions. 1, the ball is in the strike zone when it touches the batter. 2, the batter makes no attempt to avoid being touched by the ball. If the umpire rules the batter makes no attempt to avoid being hit by a pitch, it shall be declared a ball or strike depending on its location. But the ball is dead and no runner may advance. For the most part, however, being hit by a pitch is obvious, if not sometimes painful. Ask Tony about that one. So Jose Nunez will try and save a run and shut down the Yankees' attack. It started with Winfield's home run, a Henderson single, a Ward walk. Galliulo flied out. Double steal, Cerrone flied to right. Barfield's arm prevented a run. Then Meacham, 2 RBIs in his single. 4-3 Yankees. Saw another odd one hit which batsman yesterday down in Atlanta. Gary Renicky of the Braves, pinch hitting with the bases loaded. In tie game. Got hit by a pitch. The home plate umpire gave him first base. Looked like the end of the game. There goes the runner, Meacham. Moore's throw.
Yes.
He slides right into it. So Charlie Moore wished he had made that throw.
I guess.
To Ward to retire him before the double steal led by Henderson from second to third. But the Yankees come up with 3 runs. A walk to Ward by Cerruti. Tagged by Fernandez. We go to the bottom of the 4th. 4-3 Yankees. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. So a slugger Barfield who has shortened his stroke. And it's made him more aggressive. It allowed him to wait a little bit longer, drive the ball to the opposite field. So the 2 starters, Trout and Cerruti, are gone. Nunez and Hudson for the Yankees. Charles will face Barfield. The Newcastle schedule could be Leach.
He's in the on-deck circle.
So a little early in the ball game, Jimmy Williams not going to his left-hand platoon hitters, but he may start now with the Jays trailing by a run.
Well, that's just the DH spot, so he can start it there, certainly.
Hudson with an outstanding fastball. The appeal goes down. Greg Kosk raises the right hand. Jesse in the hole. No balls, 2 strikes.
The Wondrous Wave comes back to visit us.
Started in Oakland, I don't know how many years ago, by Crazy George. He used to get up on top of the dugout. He claimed to start it. Then in Seattle, the football fans, I think the University of Washington, claimed they started it first. There was a lively debate. Really, it's one of those things, who the heck cares?
Crazy George is from Vancouver, isn't he?
Could be.
Yeah.
Is he?
He first got crazy with the BC Lions and then took his insanity south.
No balls, 2 strikes to Jesse Barfield, the leadoff hitter in the bottom of the 4th. Montreal behind Bryn Smith with a 1-0 lead over the Cubs.
So the Tigers and Brewers scoreless in their game.
Little by little, those candidates who had their hats in the ring for the Cy Young Award are falling by the wayside. Rick Rhoden was a candidate. Now he's trying to pitch through a sore shoulder. That may hurt his chances. Popped up. Willie Randolph. Tells Mattingly he's got it. 1 out. With so many teams still not mathematically eliminated in the 4 divisional races, you've still got a lot of possible Cy Young Award candidates, but especially MVP candidates. And the month of September becomes so important. If you carry your team on its back, George Bell has most of this season, you end up winning it. Rick Leach pinch hitting for Juan Beniquez. Juan hitting a double play in the 1st. That was the Jays' 3-run first inning. Since then, Hudson has shut them down. Little soft liner right at Randolph, 2 down. There are a ton of players, as you can see. The Yankees have about 35. See the lineups, and the manager will use that MasterCard, usually delegated perhaps to a John McLaren as they make substitution, cross it out. Many managers carry a little lineup card in their back pocket so they know who's available, especially at this time of the year. Roberto Kelly goes back a few strides. So Charles Hudson now has got a good string of Blue Jays set down going as he has another 3-up, 3-down inning. That's 2 consecutively. We'll go to the 5th. The Yankees with a 1-run lead. You're watching the bats. Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Well, the home of the Blue Nose loves the Blue Jays. Halifax,
Nova Blue Nose, is that the famous boat?
The boat on every dime in your pocket. Canadian dime.
Let's see, PEI, Prince Edward Island, just off the coast of Nova Scotia. Larry and Posty with an outstanding radio show. I've told him to get you on. You'd be a stimulating guest with all the sports you do.
What show is that?
They called you. Of course, it's for nothing. It's a freebie.
I do a lot of those. Just like this afternoon.
4-3 Yankees. Came up with 3 runs on 3 base hits in the 4th. Similar to what the Blue Jays did in the 1st. 3 runs on 3 base hits. The Yankees also got a home run in the 2nd from Ward. Kelly is struck out and grounded out. Nunez in relief of Cerruti.
I got Paul Beeston of the Blue Jays on a talk show in New York, and now he's going on the circuit, I think. He's making appearances. Constantly in demand. Well, what do you think about the World Series in Canada? Pretty close call, 241 to 211.
241 optimists.
Yeah.
Long way to go. No ball, 2 strike count. Kelly gets a base hit to left field. He's got blazing speed.
The second baseman, number 30, Willie Randolph.
Whereas Meacham tried to steal, and Charlie Moore threw him out. You can see the reaction of Nunez. He knew when he threw the pitch, he perhaps made a mistake. Got the ball upstairs, and he didn't finish the hitter off when he had him no balls, 2 strikes. Charlie Moore mentioning to Nunez, give me a chance. Vary your rhythm. Step off if you want. Maybe make a couple throws over, but above all else, let's focus on Randolph, who's a good first ball fastball hitter. Oh, he just missed. Moore thought that Larry Barnett missed the call. He held it there for a while.
Now the Orioles coming in for our next telecast Wednesday on CTV, 7:30 Eastern time. Check for the time in your area. Nunez does not have a great first batter efficiency mark. He's retired 17 of 32 now that he has faced. That's the first batter because Kelly was up and didn't get finished back in the 4th inning. Then he settles down after that. He could be a little shaky in the beginning, but he can get into a groove and really pitch well. He got 2 outs the other night or in the series.
Kelly with 1 foot on the carpet, leaning just a shade towards second base. Randolph can take 2 strikes if he wants to give him a chance to steal. On the other hand, if you try and unload a fastball by him, he can jump all over it. Kelly with 51 stolen bases, caught 10 times. He's going. That was at Columbus, a breaking ball. A perfect pitch to run on. A breaking ball low and away. So Kelly with another stolen base. Was he 4 for 4 in a Yankee uniform?
And you watch this, the Randolph ducking down in front of the line of Charlie's throw again on the hop, had no chance to get him.
And aside from that, count runs 2 balls, no strikes to Willie Randolph. So now Roberto Kelly as a major leaguer is 4 for 4 in the stolen base department. And they've got to watch him also. Kelly Gruber's got to shade in a little in case Randolph bunts. I doubt if he will. Three and 0. Former Cleveland manager. Been at Kansas City for Dick Hauser. Mike Ferraro, the third base coach. Nunez way behind Willie Randolph, 3-0, with the Yankees leading by a run. Now they'll let him go after it. It's 3 balls and a strike. I'll say one thing, Nunez didn't let up. He had a lot on that pitch. Good, hard fastball. Something that a lot of young pitchers, although he's pitched so often and there's so many big league hitters in the Dominican Republic in winter baseball, he already knows and has a feel that in the big league, you can't afford to let up. He throws another fastball that Randolph can't get around on, so the count is full.
And the deeper the cat, the better hitter that Willie Randolph often is.
Al Widmar thinks that Jose Nunez, with the great arm he had, that a few years down the road might be a number 1 or number 2 starter in this Blue Jays team. That's how he thinks, how much he thinks of Nunez's arm. And maybe fight next year to see whether or not Nunez this year, of course, has to stay on the roster because he was drafted for that $50,000 price out of the Royals organization. He's been a plus.
Sure didn't want to give him back.
You know, you got to fight next year. Well, I'm sure Widmar will, and I want to keep him all next year. Ball gets by Charlie Moore. I guess I've been reading the wrong count. They had 3-2 on the board, and it was a 3-0 count, I thought. And apparently the count was wrong on the board. I apologize to you.
It was 3-1, now 3 or 2. Let's see. That's
I guess it was
You're
right. Randolph, for some reason, doesn't go. The count was
He lost the count.
Off the glove of Charlie Moore. We will get an official scorer's decision on that, I would think, again, because it hit the glove. It would have been a tough backhanded call. It's a wild pitch. One of those where Joe Sawchuk had to make a decision. It hit the glove. Could have given a wild pitch, but it was so difficult for Moore with that fastball sailed to keep it. So it is Yankees 4, Jays 3, and there are now runners on first and third with nobody out. Blue Jays bullpen will get going. David Wells, the left-hander. And Mark Eichhorn from the right side for Jimmy Williams.
Yeah, you're in the heavy part of the Yanks lineup now. Mattingly, Winfield, Henderson, Ward, Pagliarulo.
Mattingly, a single and a fly out to left field. Should get 1 run home. Val should go to second base. He's going to come home, which is a bad mistake. Oh, my, George.
Yeah.
You couldn't throw him out with a cannon from left field, and Val has made very few mistakes this year. He's made none with the bat in his hands. Defensively, he just made one, allowing on that rainbow throw Randolph to go to second base. George knows it. He didn't have to be told. As soon as it left his hand, he knew he shouldn't have thrown, and he knew if he had thrown, he had it to cut off man. He didn't do either right.
There's no way, as you say, he would ever get Kelly.
So, sacrifice fly, RBI, no time at bat for Mattingly, making the score 5-3 Yankees. Kelly scores after the single stolen base wild pitch, sacrifice fly. Randolph tags up, goes to second. So with Winfield a double play candidate up, the double play possibility is gone. Dave Steve, who says he's unhappy?
Smiling at the moment, but that could be momentary.
You know, another thing Jimmy's done, going to that 4-man rotation, there's some who say this is too soon. You can't do that yet, but Jimmy's made the decision. And again, he did it with Barfield when he didn't start him for 3 or 4 games, and Jesse came back a little bit mad. Jesse still feels he hopes he's not in a platoon situation, but you know, if that's what Jimmy Williams thinks is going to win ball game, that's what he's going to do. A good breaking ball from Nunez to get ahead of Winfield.
It's not all that uncommon, is it, the pennant race, for a manager to go to his top 4 pitchers and rotate them if they can withstand losing a day's rest?
Well, you know, early in September and at the end of October, you had a few off days, you can get away with it. Now it gets to the point where you start playing almost every day, and it's a move that some people say this late in the season you shouldn't try because the pitching staff may be worn down. Another good breaking ball, this time a slider, 2 strikes. But you've got to remember, Flanagan has not had that many innings pitched because he's on the DL, so he should be strong. Cerruti has been in the starting rotation and relief, so he didn't have a big inning buildup. Jimmy Key, leading the league in ERA, has had that shoulder tenderness. Clancy's a horse. I mean, he's so darn strong that you can get away with it with him too, I think. So I think all those things went into the consideration of Al Widmar and Jimmy Williams when they decided this to the breaking ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You mentioned the days off, and that is an important factor. Just 1 for the Blue Jays, and it comes on October the 1st, just with 4 days to go in the season. And heaven help them if there's a rain problem.
And, you know, I mean, this is not written in stone. I mean, there could be, you know, if somebody falls by the wayside, has a couple bad outings, you can see a Dave Steve pop right back in. Milwaukee, Detroit scoreless. The runner going. Winfield with Randolph trying to sneak down the third on Jose Nunez, and Charlie Moore cuts him down at third. A tough throw over the head of a 6'5" right-handed hitter, Dave Winfield. Gruber with a good slap tag, and Rocky Rowe with a call.
You can accuse Charlie of a couple of shaky throws today, but you also must give him credit for 2 great ones. This was one right here.
So that throw by Charlie Moore and the tag by Gruber perhaps gets George Bell off the hook, which is what a good team does when they're on a roll and playing well. You make a mistake, the pitcher gets you out of the hole, or a throw by Moore in this case. Breaking ball, somehow Winfield got a piece and stayed alive. 2-2, 2 down, 5-3 Yankees. Dave Winfield does this almost as much as Tony Oliva used to when he was that great hitter for the Minnesota Twins. There were bats always out in the field with him.
Or Cliff Johnson with the Jays.
Heathcliff.
Or javelin throwers, hammer throwers.
Winfield grounded out in the first, and he had a home run in the fourth for Dave Winfield. It was home run number 25, RBI number 91. 2 outs, 2-2 count. We're in the 5th. He just threw Winfield away with a moving fastball right down the middle, but just a little too much on it. So Nunez gave up a run, a single, stolen base, wild pitch, sacrifice fly. Matty will go to the bottom of the 5th. New York 5, Toronto 3. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. So we'll go to the bottom of the 5th. Charlie Moore scheduled a hit with the Jays trailing by 2. But with the expanded roster, Jimmy Williams having 11 position players at his disposal, with call-ups from Syracuse and Knoxville. Ernie Witt will pinch hit for Charlie Moore, yesterday's hero. When you get in a stretch run, you want the old pros to take over. Ernie Witt had a big hand in the first 2 games in this Yankee series.
Boy, yesterday, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs.
Ernie hitting at .270 with 14 home runs and those 63 big runs batted in. Hudson, ball 1.
You think Lou wishes he'd started Charlie Hudson? He's been tough. Trout's caused them all the grief today.
Lou has had a beaten-up team, as you indicated, and tired arms on the pitching staff. Too high from Hudson. 2 balls, no strikes.
Hudson has allowed just 1 base runner. That was Gruber hitting him with a pitch. He's been flawless since then, retiring 7 straight. Make it 9 straight.
2 balls, no strikes to Ernie Witt. 2-1. Jimmy Williams gets a couple of pitchers soft tossing down in his bullpen. Craig McMurtry, he is bespectacled. And Joe Johnson.
Chris Glass is also.
Hook foul, right field corner by Witt, 2-2. Yeah.
Murtry with an appendectomy to start his season off. Not the way he wanted to see it happen.
He pitched well in the spring also on occasion. Tom Henke and to wife Kathy sitting home in Missouri.
Tough way to spend an anniversary for that couple.
7th anniversary back home with the children.
Tom's got business to do here.
What a year he's had. What a force Henke was from the All-Star break when he was 17 for 17 and save opportunities. A little bit overworked, getting into the 7th inning out in the West Coast, 4 innings in the extra inning game, so perhaps he needs a few more days rest. Little scribber off the end of the bat, but Kelly is there. Does he react to the ball in a hurry? He is quick in center field. Looked like it had a chance to drop. He covered a lot of ground in a hurry. So Witt is down for the first out in the 5th. It'll bring up Nelson Liriano.
That's 10 in a row now retired by Charlie Moore. Or Charlie Hudson. Charlie Moore has retired in favor of Witt.
Liriano with a single run scored in the first and fly to center field in the second. A very, very gifted young middle infielder. They are hard to find. You put 2 switch hitters out there, If you get a Fernandez and a Liriano, 1-2 in your lineup, you throw Mosby in the 3 spot, or if Mosby's second, and a lot of speed in the first 3 slots. The Cardinals are sometimes they shoot 5 switch hitters at you. What does a manager do when he tries to come out of the bullpen? You don't know who to bring in. It can really be a big, big plus. 1 strike to Nelson. 1-1.
Now you're looking potentially at one of the great infield combinations as the years will go on here for the Blue Jays, with Liriano at second and Tony Fernandez at short.
And as a backup, you got Manny Lee at this point, who's another switch hitter. They get Manny to try and hit every ball out of the ballpark. He'd perhaps become a little better offensive force. 2 balls and a strike. Cerruti and Trout started the ball game. Now it's Nunez and Charles Hudson. A little high. And Liriano appears to be the kind of player that is a fairly disciplined hitter. Left-handed especially, where he's got a little bit of an uppercut. If he can lay off that pitch from the belt up, he'll get some bases on balls. 3-1 to Liriano. Chopper by Mattingly. It could be at least 2. Winfield will chase it down in the bullpen area. Liriano will try for 3. The ball off the wall. He comes in standing up with a triple. There's just 1 down. It rattled around off the pitcher's mound. Winfield tried to cut it off. It got by him. Mattingly having to play in with a bunt threat up and off the line, and he hooks it in the right field corner.
Well, one of the most exciting plays in baseball, certainly not the most exciting in this case, because there was no real throw at third base to challenge Liriano. He was there and comfortably, but you don't see triples like you used to. The percentage triples has really gone down the last 20 years.
So again, that little bit of speed comes into play in a couple ways. The speed saying the possibility of a bunt. Mattingly had to come in. And then the speed, when the ball got by all the players and pitchers in the bullpen, presuming it's a triple and not a double in air. So it's Mosby now, who's 0 for 2 in the game, a foul out and the ground out. 1 strike to Lloyd. And Mattingly cheating in this 1-out situation, a little bit toward home plate. Anything hit hard, even though they've got a 2-run pad so far in this game, they may come home. Mattingly with that great throwing arm. We've already seen him this season in the first and second bunt throw a runner out third base. He's an outstanding defensive player. The 2 best first basemen of the game right in New York City, Hernandez and Mattingly. Liriano at third with 1 out. Base hit. Liriano will score, making it 5-4. RBI Mosby.
His 84th of the year.
And he hit a good pitch. A sinking fastball low and away, and Lloyd went out and got it. It's straight away and started instead of trying to pull the ball to get the Jays a run closer. And Mosby, with that speed, a base-stealing threat at first base.
And as a result, for the first time since coming on for starter Steve Trout, Charlie Hudson looks human. It's been unreal until this juncture.
Lloyd has stolen 29, been caught 7 times. The possibility still exists that all 3 outfielders, even though they've been rested some this year, the chance to have 100 RBI seasons. When did you see that last? Hernandez with 1 out. Mosby on first.
And Lloyd needs, what, 16 now? Jesse needs 21, and of course George long since there.
This is the 142nd game of the year, so Jesse would have to get hotter than Lloyd. But he's more than capable of getting those RBIs for 100.
What a difference a year makes, Tony. At this stage last year, the Blue Jays were 10 games off the pace. Today, they lead by 1.
Little low as Hudson tried to unload in a hurry and lost the strike zone. Out comes Lou Piniella. I believe Fernandez may have requested time, or did he? And I don't think Larry Barnett gave it to him. Yeah, Larry Barnett shaking his head. Yes, no, he didn't give it to him. He requested, and the umpire does not have to give it to him. There have been too many times in the last couple of years where pitchers are about in the middle of their delivery, where they start and the umpire gives the requested time, and guys hold onto the ball, they catch their cleats.
Here's what happened. Jimmy Williams here in the dugout was yelling time to Tony. Step out. And that's why Tony put his hand up. He was going to call time. He didn't, and they allowed the pitch to stand.
Well, Tony did. He raised his hand, but...
Oh, yes, he raised his hand, but he was not acknowledged.
Barnett still got to give it to him. They even say now, even if you try and feign like you got something in your eye, we don't care. We're not going to get a pitcher hurt.
I'm with them.
Saintler ball misses again. We'll show you that first pitch to Fernandez. Watch his left hand. Larry Barnett was shaking his head in the affirmative as if to say, we're going to give it to you, but he didn't, and Tony had to jump back in.
Sure did.
But anyway, the count is 2 balls and no strikes with 1 out. Rocky Rowe at third, Tim Sheeta at second, Greg Kosk at first, and Larry Barnett behind the plate. This time of the year, they break up some umpiring crews, and in the heat of pennant races, they try and get different crews. Sometimes the supervisors and umpires rate them, or the ratings that managers and general managers give. They may try and get better umpiring crews, more experience, with games that are more meaningful at this time of the year. It could be trouble if fair. There goes.
Ooh.
Just slice foul.
Couple of feet.
2 balls and a strike. Ricky Henderson looked like he was going to have a play, and then the ball kept slicing away.
And if he can't get to it, nobody can.
Yeah, we saw that game years ago where Earl Weaver, with cement blocks on that mound, pulled his team off the field. Forfeited the ball game.
Some said he had cement blocks for a head, the height of a pennant race doing that.
2-1, 1 out, 1 on. Jays trail by a run. Last score we had, Milwaukee, Detroit in the third. It was scoreless. Terrell against Pasio. Milwaukee can score runs. So can Detroit.
Last of the Tigers 11-2 last night.
Along at bat for Fernandez, it's still only 2 balls and a strike. Lloyd with about a 6-inch bigger lead, just the toe. Now he pulls back a little bit. He's not going. The force is removed. He's got a tag if he does. Double play. Who does it better than Mattingly? Unless it's Keith Hernandez. So Jimmy Williams elects not to start the runner. 2-1 count. Mattingly steps on the bag, and the tag is made by Meacham. But the Jays come up with a run on a triple by Liriano, an RBI by Mosby to get a run closer. They're put out by Bobby Meacham on Mosby. We'll go to the 6th. 5-4 Yankees. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Jose Nunez, relief of Cerruti, sees the Yankee lead cut by a run. Face Ricky Henderson, Gary Ward, and Mike Pagliarulo. Ernie Witt stays in the ballgame after lining out, pinch hitting for Moore to lead off the 5th. 1 strike to Ricky. Sharp breaking ball from Nunez to jump way ahead. Look out. Sorry it slipped, Ricky. You know, when Bobby Cox was here, that was one of the things he liked to do the first time up to Henderson. Not try and hit him, but get the ball inside of one of the first pitches in his first at-bat to straighten him up, get him out of that crouch. But Ricky, who admits he is the #1 hot dog in all of baseball, says, when I do that, I expect it.
Maybe that's what got him into the crouch. Doc Undrich.
He really can't get intimidated. That's happened before. See what I mean? Hit deep to left center field. You talk about a guy who's stolen 100 bases, got that kind of power. Perhaps only Eric Davis, who is still young and has not had a lot of years, can match that combination of speed and power that Ricky Henderson has.
Well, Toronto collecting 5 homers off Yankee pitching yesterday, seeing how the other half lived. They've given up 3 New York homers today, but they have all been solos.
And even though he got knocked down, or all but knocked down, an 0-2 pitch, watch him admire this home run. He learned a little of this from Reggie Jackson. Deep into the left center field bleachers. 6-4 Yankees. Will he be back or won't he? He was a little evasive when Fergie asked a very tough question that Luzman asked before. Lou said he's not worried about it. I'll bet he is a little bit at home, and he's got to say he's not worried about it, but it's a very attractive paying job, and it's really the most pressure-filled managerial job in all of baseball, more so than the Mets. 1 ball count, could be extra bases. It will be off the bat of Gary Ward, who was homered, walked, scored 2 runs, and now he's going to try for a triple. Here comes the throw. He's safe. Once again, a relay man overthrown this time. Fernandez was overthrown. Liriano set up perfectly, but by that rainbow throw again, you had 1 longer throw and a short one. You'd like to have 2 medium distant throws because it's a lot quicker.
Well, that's an exciting triple, an actual play at the bag at third.
Bell and Mosby chasing it down. George grabs it. He sees Fernandez and Liriano, and then he overthrows Fernandez with an extra long throw, and it gave Ward that extra step with a sliding triple. Jimmy Williams out now as David Wells, the left-hander, comes on to relieve Nunez. Paliarulo, the scheduled hitter, with 1 run home in the 6-4 ball game, and the Yankees threatening again.
So triple chases Nunez.
Nunez showed signs of brilliance again, where he just blew Dave Winfield away. Struck him out to end the 5th, and then he knocked Henderson down an 0-2 pitch, brushed him back, nothing else. Henderson home run, Ward triple. David Wells, who becomes very important with Jeff Musselman struggling with some shoulder tenderness.
And Wells has been effective.
What you're talking about now with the 3 left-handers in the starting rotation, you're talking about if Musselman's shoulder stays stiff, tight, sore, whatever it is, Wells becomes the left-hander out of the bullpen. So Fergie Albert talked to David Wells before the ball game.
Left-hander David Wells, what's been the difference for you? You were up with the Blue Jays earlier. They sent you back to Syracuse. Now you're back again, and you've won 2 ball games and lost 1.
Well, the difference is being in relief and coming into a tie ball game and then pitching an inning or maybe 2/3 and then come back in the dugout and get runs. Your team doing that. So, you know, I like the relief role a lot better than I did starting when I was up earlier because, you know, I would have to, you know, save myself for later innings, and I was just, you know, wasn't really used to that in relief because I just go out there and just throw the ball as hard as I could.
You've been used 6 times now, and are you surprised that Jimmy Williams has used you that much?
Yeah, I am. I just came up to expect to maybe get in 1 or 2 ball games, not as many as I have now. So, you know, I'm happy with being here, and it proves to them that, you know, I can pitch in a situation, and I've done it a couple times, like Dwayne Ward, and you know, so I'm just very happy.
2 balls, no strikes to Mike Paliarulo with the infield in for Toronto. Nobody out. 2-0 count on Pags. Tigers take a 1-0 lead over the Brewers in the 4th.
Montreal falls behind 2-1. The Cubs at the 5th.
Lloyd's coming in. He better come hard. The infield, and it's tough. It bounces. The run will score. It's 7-4. Lloyd froze, may have taken a step back, and really with the infield in, it's a shortstop ball normally, but you pull the infield in, not only do more ground balls sneak through on the turf, but you're vulnerable to the little looper. And Lloyd couldn't get there in time after he froze, and Tony couldn't get there because he was playing in.
And I don't know if we can notice it here on this side of the ballpark, but they almost had a play on Pagliarulo, who was hung up between first and second. But unfortunately for Laureano right here, there was nobody over at first base. Fielder was in toward the mound.
New York 7, Toronto 4. Rick Cerone. Will he be bunting? There goes the runner. Pagliarulo fouled off. Boy, Lupinella is managing very aggressively. He has started runners all day long. Henderson a couple of times.
Well, he's
hit
better.
Run, straight steal. Now Cerone a double play possibility. He starts Pagliarulo, who's not known for Vince Coleman type speed.
Not really.
1 strike, nobody out. Pitch out.
He's not known for Gary Coleman type speed.
1-1. The arm is there for David Wells. Can he throw strikes?
He appeared in the 8th inning of the Friday game, struck out 2 and walked 2.
He struck out 10 coming in. There goes the runner again. Still could be 2. Fernandez Liriano. Nice pivot by Nelson. And a good play by Tony. Some shortstops would not have fed that in a hit-and-run situation. Tony unloaded in a hurry. Liriano did a hop, skip, and a jump over Pagliarulo on a roll block. Turned it.
The point you made was he doesn't have great speed, and that was the factor that gave the Jays a chance, and Fernandez did just start this double play to Liriano.
But Pagliarulo was there in time to upset him, but Liriano, just with that balletic move, just avoided the roll block. Good play by Nelson. He has shown some quickness. DP 2 out, 6-4-3. Now it's Meacham. Meacham with a big base hit to this point. 2 men out after Henderson and Ward. Still 2nd and 3rd. Meacham singles to left field for 2 RBIs. Ball 1. 1-1. The Labatt's player of the game for New York will receive the Hitachi DA400 compact disc player. Hitachi's complete line of CDs features advanced digital audio technology and the most comprehensive 3-year warranty available. Hitachi, science for the senses. As well, an amateur baseball team will be the guest of the player of the game and Hitachi at a future game. 2-1 now to Meacham, who has played around with switch hitting. Given up on it, started again. Now I believe he's only hitting right-handed. Fouled on a play.
And a rain delay in New York with the Cardinals and the Mets. Wondering why I hadn't seen a score from Shea Stadium, but it's supposed to rain much of the day in New York City.
What a blow. Ron Darling out for the season.
Yeah. Injured his thumb Friday night.
Fractured or sprained thumb. Having a hard luck season to start with. And has that entire staff behind Mel Stottlemyre. Base set, center field. Mosby will make the throw, but Meacham will come in hard safely.
Well, the Yankees are aggressive. You made that point earlier. They need wins in a hurry.
Their 5th extra base hit. They've had 3 home runs. Lloyd shading Meacham over toward right center field. Then, so the ball wouldn't go all the way through to the wall, he had to take an angle deep to left center field to cut it off and couldn't make the long throw. Jimmy Williams had his bullpen going. He's got Eichhorn up now, and we could see him. Here comes Mark. Mark still feeling the effects. I think some people have said a change in his delivery. I think it's more the innings pitched and the up and down last year. It was 157 innings pitched, and even though they said a lot of innings because his delivery will not be hard on his shoulder, but I think his arm's been a little tired this year. And while Mark gets warmed up, we'll have another page in our SO scrapbook turn.
The SO Baseball Scrapbook with Tony Kubek, Major League player and broadcaster.
When figuring a pitcher's earned run average, it must first be determined what an earned run is. Basically, it's a run scored when the runner's advance is not aided by an error, passed ball, defensive interference, or obstruction. So, in figuring a pitcher's ERA, simply multiply the total earned runs by 9. Divide the result by the total number of innings pitched. Here's an example. 20 earned runs times 9 equals 180. Divide 180 by the total innings pitched, say 54. 3.33 is the pitcher's earned run average.
That looks like one of those skill testing questions they give you when you win a contest. You don't get the prize until you multiply by 10, divide by 3, subtract 4, and
every time I try and do it, I still have to read about it and go point by point to get it done.
I'm sure you do, yeah.
So Mark Eichhorn comes on, who off and on has shown traces of his brilliant year last year, but not consistently enough. Giving up 14 home runs, again out of the bullpen. A lot of innings pitched, 117 as you see. Look at the base on balls. Those numbers were so different last year, more than a strikeout per inning, hardly any base on balls, very few home runs. Combination of last year's inning build-up, perhaps a little change in delivery, maybe more so hitters seeing his delivery this year and the word getting around and adjusting, swinging at more strikes instead of balls. Roberto Kelly, the kid, I haven't seen too many deliveries like this in the minor leagues. New York 7, Toronto 4. We're in the 6th with 2 outs. Yankees with 11 base hits, Jays with 5. Two strikes on the sweeping curveball.
Now, Fan Appreciation Day on Sunday the 27th. Thousands of dollars in Panasonic merchandise to be awarded to the lucky fans. That's always a popular event. The Tigers are here to make it a greater bonus.
We're trying to get Vice President Paul Beeston to give at least one of those boxes of smelly cigars away so we don't have to smell them more when we're downwind of them. I don't know if that'll be included though. Way outside. Nice stop by Ernie. 1 and 2, 2 outs. Meacham at second.
Might be easier than giving him away.
I'll tell you, if he gave that box of cigars away, or one of them, he'd get them back in such a big hurry. Detroit 1, Milwaukee nothing in the 5th. Minnesota beating Cleveland 3-2 in the 7th. Cerruti started. Nunez in the 4th. Wells in the 6th. Now Eichhorn. He got a breaking ball inside, but he got away with it. Mosby will call George Bell off. But the Yankees come up with a couple of more runs. A Henderson home run, a Ward triple, a RBI by Paliarulo, and that's what the score stands at, 7-4. As we go to the bottom of the 6th, you're watching the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Yankees, 7 runs, 11 hits, 3 home runs with that 7-4 lead. George Bell, Cecil Fielder scheduled to hit, playing first base, and then Jesse Barfield, the 3rd Yankee pitcher. Trout, then Hudson. A man who wasn't getting along well with Jim Fregosi in a White Sox uniform. Neil Allen, a former Met, a former Yankee, former White Sox, back with the Yankees. Ball 1.
He pitched 2/3 of an inning scoreless, gave up 1 hit in Friday's game, but he did allow a runner he inherited score. He's a spec sort of pickup by the Yankees. Had him pitch, they liked it, so they signed him.
2-0. Willie Upshaw comes on deck. He'll be the pinch hitter for Cecil Fielder after Bell. Allen was an outstanding relief pitcher for the Mets. And then he was made into a start. A hit deep to left field, but off the end of the bat. It sounded good, but didn't go very far. Ricky Henderson's got it for the first out.
With that little move of his, which I'm convinced someday is going to cost him a fly ball.
He loves it.
I know he loves it, but
he loves to get booed in the opposition ballpark. George got a little on the end of the bat and a little too much underneath it. Ricky says, gotcha.
Put mustard on that one.
Don't you like a guy with a little flair?
Oh, I do, but I'm just thinking in a key situation. He drops one of those, bases loaded, it's lights out.
Fielder had a double for 2 RBIs in the first, then he struck out in the third. 2 strikes to Willie Upshaw. One out, bottom of the 6th, 7-4 Yankees. Too far outside. Neil Allen's always had a pretty good breaking ball and a fastball that's pretty crisp, but they say it is straight. Here's the starter. He's trying to mix in a few more change-ups. Relief, he may just go fastball curve. That was a little change-up. He turned it over and just caught the outer edge. So Willie couldn't get the bat off his shoulder. 2 down.
The Jays had pretty good success with Allen when he was with the White Sox, but today he's got their number so far with the first 2 hitters.
So Larry Barnett, 2 strike counts. Tell Willie Upshaw too close to take. Barnett punches him out. Now it's Jesse Barfield. He's walked and popped out. Inside. Out of play. One and one with 2 down to Barfield.
You caught that ball?
Fella from Saskatoon. Had a long drive.
Yes, it is a long drive.
Two balls and a strike to Jesse Barfield. 7 pitchers used in this game, 4 by the Jays. Took a little off, 2-2. The Yankees with the acquisition of Gullickson from Cincinnati, and Gullickson was leading the National League in home run balls thrown. Gave him a good first outing. Planning for next year with him. They got Hudson. Maybe a starter. They got Trout. Now they get Allen, so they're starting to do things for next year. Paliarulo to Mattingly. 3 up, 3 down inning for Neil Allen. We'll go to the 7th here at Exhibition Stadium, with the Toronto Blue Jays trailing the New York Yankees by 3 runs. Don Chevrier will be back. You're watching the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
33-year-old Willie Randolph, a 12-year Yankee veteran, acquired way back when from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Starts it off for the Yankees, then Mattingly and Winfield. Trouble potentially from all 3 as Willie Upshaw stays in the game to play first base for the Blue Jays, who trailed the Yankees 7-4. They just can't get it going, at least not since that first inning when they struck for 3 of their 4 runs.
You think Willie and the Gator Ron Guidry couldn't write a book about what they've seen in New York?
Oh, I guess.
Long tenure.
Groover over to his left, couldn't get back to the line. That's going to be a double for Randolph. So Willie gets his first hit in 3 at-bats, along with a walk today.
You don't like to see your bullpen banged around like this under any conditions. Not when the race is this close. And again, at the All-Star game, the bullpen looked like it was very tired. It recovered a lot. And it may be getting tired and wearing down again. Of course, most teams are in that same boat. I mean, when you play under 62, little nagging injuries crop up. Tiredness crops up.
Doesn't get any better, does it, with Mattingly standing in there. Then Winfield. And they're going to put him on. To pitch to Winfield.
You know, Neil McCarl, one of the fine baseball writers in this continent, in the midst of conducting his annual poll of the best arm, the best hitter, the best defensive, the best this and that, And overwhelming, this is a surprise this year, Neil was telling me that the most dangerous hitter in the American League. He asked, who do you think? I said, well, Bell. I said, no. Evans, no. And what about it? Boggs? He said, nope. Mattingly again. He said he thinks it's reputation, but...
Yeah. Well, tonight, second game, and Team Canada has to win it to keep the Canada Cup alive. They trail the Soviets 1-0 after that thriller on Friday. It'll be in Hamilton. You'll see it at CTV at 8 Eastern time. No need to remind you of that one.
Might it be over today?
If the Soviets win.
And if not, then it's Tuesday?
And a showdown on Tuesday.
Is Tretiak still in goal, or is he over the hill by this time? Finally? He was there forever.
He's over the hill and down the road. We're back in the good old USSR.
Said the Soviet Union could never replace him.
Well, they have got a couple of goalies. They got a guy from the Ural Mountains, of all places, who's played pretty well for them.
Winfield and Ferrara, the third base coach, had a conference, and it was got to be a decoy. I can't see them having Winfield bunt in this situation.
And that's the story. 7-4 Yanks. Starting this inning like they have so many others, getting the first 2 men off.
He's punting. Can you believe this?
He pushed a foul, however.
Guy's had about 5 straight years of 100 RBIs, and he's bunting. And a very strange number used to be worn by Casey Stengel goes down to the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. 37. There he is.
Dave Steve. When have you seen that? We've seen him as a pinch runner on occasion.
You know what happened last year? It was threatened the last couple of years when he was struggling to try and right him. And after a couple of bad outings, it's not punishment. It's, hey, let's do what we think is best, as Jimmy said, and let's see if we can get you back on the beam. And maybe pitching in relief in a game like this with not much pressure, and there's going to be a lot of pressure the rest of the way, but if you're behind, you can get your slider back and get your confidence back. Dave may not like it, but as Jimmy Williams said, what else is there that's better for the ball club?
Making the most of what he's got.
At this point.
The 0-1 is inside, so it's 1-1 to Winfield. He's got Randolph at second. He doubled. Mattingly walked intentionally, and there's the bird's eye view of what's happening this afternoon. Birds are smart enough to get a good position right on the screen behind home plate. Tries to drop another one down, but it is fouled. So it is 1-2 now. So the Yankees, forgetting the individual aspect of the game, which they have so often concentrated on in the past, are playing team baseball now, and it's winning for them here this afternoon. As you say, Lou Piniella doing it very aggressively. He needs wins, especially against the Torontos and the Detroits. He does not play the Tigers, though, the rest of the way. That
what a
could
goofy
make it doubly
schedule,
tough.
huh?
Yeah, that's strange.
They were through the second week in August. Right after the second week.
Yeah.
Unlike the National League, so they've got 2 fewer teams. All the contenders playing each other in the last couple of weeks, which is what you want for more stimulating baseball and fan interest. They're going to have to change it this league.
He reaches fourth foul. There goes the bat out to third base. Well, they had a meeting this past week. I know scheduling was discussed, among other things, right here in Toronto, and I hope they improve on it next year. I told you before and said didn't really appreciate seeing teams back-to-back all the time. We saw so much of that this year. Here's Winfield for the second time entering the hammer throw of the old Highland games down by the lake.
When he does that, he manages to stay alive and get the next track and foul off a decent pitch. You know, I would think that the Western Division clubs, or most of them in the American League, would want to keep it the way it is because they get teams like the Yankees, and the Blue Jays are building a big following. They get bigger attendance instead of playing each other more with Seattle against Oakland and some things like that. So I'm sure they'd be the ones who want to keep it just as is.
Inside 2-2, and yet there's got to be a way we can accomplish both those goals. Let the Western teams see the Yankees, the Jays, and the Tigers, the other top teams in the East, and yet maybe not have everybody play back-to-back. Vary it a little bit.
Well, the way is to expand to 2 more teams, but what you've got with the dilution of talent at this point and pitching staffs the way they are, where are you going to get 20 more pitchers from?
Yep, not enough now. Over to second for one. Winfield beats out the second half of that double play as Randolph takes third base. So Mattingly erased at second. Winfield on the fielder's choice remains at first base.
Yankees hit into an awfully lot of double plays this year. This time Liriano doesn't turn it. He perhaps took that one extra step. Isn't it something when he had more time, he took too much that time? And before, when he didn't have time with Pele Rubalberta, he made such a quick pivot. And when he learned that he should make it as quick as he can, not rush it every time, he's going to turn more double plays. He thought he had more time. He misjudged the speed of Winfield. He didn't get him.
Anderson's single came in the 4th. He scored. His home run came in the 6th inning. He is 2 for 3 this afternoon. The Yankees with 3 homers. They have all been solo shots. But they lead Toronto 7-4. In a game that is a key to Yankee survival and a key to the Blue Jays' first place aspirations. Whoa, way up it goes.
What a takeout by Winfield. He is one of the best base runners in the game, and with those strides, he ate up a lot of ground. A little tricky hop to Gruber, which upset his timing, and he had to give that extra step to Winfield. But look what Winfield does to Liriano to force him to throw it wide and high. RBI for Henderson. You can't anticipate the double play.
And it's 8-4.
The slide is what really created that. I don't know of any player, and that's why I always wonder how George Steinbrenner, for all those years, could have knocked David Winfield. I don't know anybody that plays harder than Dave does. In the outfield and on the bases. Good job.
Yeah, gives it his best every day. Gary Ward has had a productive afternoon. He can single and double here. That's the easy part. He can hit for the cycle. He's done the tough part, the triple and homer. He has also walked. He scored 3 of the Yankees' 8 runs.
Well, I could bet the odds are very high that Henderson is going. Henderson came into this ball game tied with Brett Butler of Cleveland and Mosby, each with 29 stolen bases. Reynolds leads with 52, and there are a lot of people, Reedus, Wilson, Molitor, Phil Bradley, and Tony Fernandez, all more stolen bases than Ricky. There he goes.
Off and running, and they will not have him.
So Ricky gets his 2nd stolen base. You're seeing what kind of offensive force and how much he means to this offense. Even hitting 5th. He's now been on base 3 times. Got a home run, a couple of stolen bases. Fielder's choice with his speed. They couldn't turn a double play. Now he's got another stolen base in scoring position.
Call that a decent day's work.
Oh. Perhaps it was Billy Martin who first said of Rick Henderson, he's the most devastating leadoff hitter in the history of the game, and I don't think there's any question. A guy who can steal like he has and still hit you all those home runs and drive in runs. When he plays, and some say when he feels like playing.
Yes. Highcorn's 1-2 offering. Leans back from that. It is 2-2 now. Well, if the Jays get hot, they trail 8-4 now. Could this, as you look at Henderson at second base, be another 15-14 game like that wild one earlier in the year? Still 1-0 for the Tigers over Milwaukee at County Stadium, 8th inning. In the other game, Minnesota had a Cleveland 3-2. Did he go around? No. First base umpire, Greg Kosk.
Ernie immediately reacted. One of the appeal play at first base, Chicago. Manager.
And that is postponed now. They have scrubbed that big game in New York.
Who will be the manager for the Chicago Cubs?
I thought he went too far on this.
I don't know. That play is called so many different ways. The barrel of the bat broke the plane, the hitting plane, so you would think it was a strike.
Doesn't matter now. He strikes out anyway. But the Yankees come up with another run. And they lead the Blue Jays 8-4. 7th inning stretch in Toronto on the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV. The Yankees lead Toronto 8-4. 7th inning at Exhibition Stadium. Getting late for the Blue Jays. At the bottom third of their lineup here. Leach, Gruber, and Witt, the scheduled hitters, off on the left side. But Mullinex in the on-deck circle is going to hit for Kelly Gruber. And remain to play third base likely. It was 3-0 Toronto very quickly at the expense of starter Steve Trout. And Charlie Hudson came on, did a magnificent job of shutting down the Jays while the Yankee bats slowly but very effectively went to work. And they've turned this one around. Neil Allen retired the side in his only inning, the 6th.
You know, if you're in the position of the Yankees, you'd have got one thought in mind, and they haven't done it all year long, which is, hey, maybe we can, or our only hope is to run off 8, 9, or 10 in a row. And this has been a silly season of streaks, which started with Milwaukee with those 13 in a row. Jays had a losing streak. They had a winning streak. It's happened with Baltimore. More so in the American League with this scheduling than in the National League.
Now, Lou
but that's
knows
what they're hoping for.
He's got 2 teams to climb over. When they play each other 7 times, you can't really gain a whole lot. If somebody wins all 7, you don't gain any ground there. And if they sort of saw it off back and forth, you get a new leader every day. But today, the Jays begin with a 1-game advantage over the Tigers. Strike 2 to Leach, 3-2. The Tigers leading Milwaukee 1-0.
I was thinking that St. Louis Cardinal Mets game was rained out. I don't know if there's an off day. I don't have the National League schedule. Does that mean they're going to have to play that game in St. Louis?
They do have a series coming up there later.
Finish the season with 3 games in St. Louis.
Maybe
and,
4.
You know, with the scheduling, and I don't know. Unless there's an off day, they could get back to New York to play it. Tim Stoddard from the right side and Pat Clements, the left-hander.
Well, it's unlikely this late in the season there'd be a day off for both teams. Leach strokes it down to Willie Randolph. Up with it off the carpet. And that's the first out of inning 7. Mullenix now to hit for Gruber.
Batting for the third baseman, Kelly Gruber, number 5, right.
Baltimore Orioles come in tomorrow to Exhibition Stadium. They'll stay for 3 with the Jays. Then a very important road trip to New York and Baltimore for Toronto will start on Thursday night over at Yankee Stadium. The Tigers, guess who they've got coming for dinner? They got the Brewers back for 4 in Detroit. Again, Willie Randolph goes to work. Identical play. 2 gone.
Looks like Mark Connors, the pitching coach, has taught a new pitch to Neil Allen. I didn't see that performance as I saw him having the White Sox this year in the past years. And Mark Connors sitting in the background there, standing with the sunglasses on. It looks like he's got him like almost a half screwball or a little sinker, taking something off it. He's had a couple left-handed hitters hit on the end of the bat.
He's shown good pitch selection, good variety.
Instead of just throwing that hard fastball and the overhand curveball, looks like he's turning it over a little bit.
Here's Witt. He takes a strike. He's getting ahead of hitters, and he's getting rid of hitters. In short order, Neil Allen is.
I think there's a chance we may see Dave Stieb coming into this ballgame. With the 5th Blue Jays pitcher. He's up and throwing again. There's David. There's that curveball. Oh, he's always had
wicked,
a good one.
isn't it? Yeah.
Takes a right angle right out in front of you. Another one.
Strikes him out. They got to make it official. And the law automatically takes care of that. Another 3-up, 3-down inning for Neil Allen. Getting it done for the Yankees here. At the end of 7, they lead 8-4 in Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Out of the bullpen he comes. An unusual role for Dave Stieb, but it is believed to be his for the rest of the season. And who knows, he could become an ace out of that bullpen for the Jays in the final 3 weeks.
Had to be kind of heartwarming. When he left the bullpen, he got a nice round of applause, and as soon as he was announced put in the game, some people stood for him. They haven't quit on him. Some people have written, only Dave Stieb knows, that he quit over the last couple of outings. Some of the players, Mullenix goes into 3rd now, Stieb on the mound, but some players, those unknown sources quoted in these columns where this guy told me that he quit.
Yeah. Shaw. Bobble, but he gets back to Stieb in time, covering the bag for the first out, getting Pat Yarullo. Well, he may not enjoy the role, but he certainly will learn to tolerate it if he gets some success here in the final 3 weeks. And of course, next year's a brand new story. So's postseason.
Well, the game is filled with front runners, and you know, when a guy's down, he's easy to kick. And like any other human being, you come out sometimes, maybe you're a little tired, maybe the wife is nagging you, and you don't, whatever. And you don't produce, and all of a sudden you jump on your back. And Dave Stieb's an easy target. I thought Wayne Parrish wrote a nice article about it. He covered a lot of different sides.
He's got Cerrone 0-1.
If you look at Steve's past performance against the New York Yankees this year, you go back to June and you see where he threw 7 2/3 innings against the Yankees and allowed only 2 base hits. He was awesome that day.
Fergie, there's no question that in that stretch when he was winning so big after, you know, kind of a so-so start, he showed traces of the Dave Steve a couple of years ago. Went back more to what they call a National League style pitcher, a power pitcher, fastball, slider, occasional change, instead of change up, slow curve, and using his fastball slider off that. He's pitching backwards.
Cerrone pushes that near the seats and finds them. Well, when you consider what was expected of Dave coming into this year, very little. He has had a remarkable season. If it were to end right now, it would be a success for Dave Steve. But he goes on out of the bullpen. 45,312 today, the 4th largest this year, just a few hundred shy of yesterday. And for the series, 129,500 even to watch the Jays and the Yankees.
A couple of years down the road with this competitive team of youngsters, you're going to see 3 million attendance here, and probably, I don't know if they can ever approach 4 million, but this is a big area to draw from. The size of the park may not allow that.
Cerrone belts that into left field. So he's at first base with Watt, and they almost got him and got away.
Well, Jesse Barfield from right field tried to back the play up. George's throw way out of line. It'll be an error on him in left field, so George has had a little scuffle out there today. Cerrone goes hard, makes a wide turn. George cuts it off. And then with Fernandez, the cutoff man, he missed him. Liriano on the bag. Willie stayed. He didn't trail the run. Now, there's a play where if there's a relay, Willie will trail it, but he couldn't do that in case there's a play at first base. So Georgie with another errant throw.
Yeah, there's an actual error to go the previous mental error when he made a wild throw with no chance of getting the guy from third base.
There's one of those.
To second.
It's one of those. If Jesse had reacted, it's unusual, but it's a thing for you kids to remember. You should come in from the outfield and back up those plays. It gives you an extra player. Jesse tried to, but the throw was so far off he couldn't get to it either.
Meacham today, the clutch single and double for the Yankees. Strokes it softly down to Tony Fernandez, over to Upshaw. So 2 gone in the 8th inning. In the top of the order, we find Roberto Kelly.
I can't remember when I've seen him miss a ground ball. I mean, he has this year, obviously, with the low total of errors he had, but he's the kind of guy like Ozzie Smith. You say he never gets a bad hop. You see other infielders are always getting crazy hops. Well, he plays his hops. He makes sure that the rhythm is there and the timing. He's taking enough ground balls to get the big hop every time.
Is one thing that he still has to resolve today, and that is his 18-game hit streak. He is hitless this afternoon. He'll get a chance in the next inning. Steve got Pagliarulo to tap out, gave a base hit to Cerrone, and got Meacham to ground out to the shortstop in his first relief appearance of the season thus far. Kelly swinging 0-2.
There's the good Dave Steve slider. Is it getting a little dark here to you?
Yeah, clouding over a little bit more, getting late in the day. And bright sunshine has gone. Blue Jays batter will be on this weekend again. Next weekend on many of the CTV stations. So catch up on all the inside news of the Jays on the Batter Show. Just got a piece to stay alive at 0-2. Reminder again, Wednesday, CTV will have the Orioles and Blue Jays for you at 7:30 Eastern Time right here in Toronto. Looks like Mike Boddicker will go against Jimmy Key. A good pitching matchup there. 8-4 today. Yankees in command. Struck him out. So Steve gets the job done in the top of the 8th inning, but those Toronto bats have got to get working here as they trail by 4. Here's the pitch that befuddled Kelly.
What a slider. He threw a couple of good ones that inning.
Dropped out of sight. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Don Chevrier with Tony Kubek and Fergie Alver back with you. 8th inning, the Jays trailing the Yankees by 4 runs, and it'll be the top of the order. Liriano, Mosby, and Fernandez as the skies get grayer, a little more menacing right now, Tony.
Yeah, I keep looking at those flags on the right field scoreboard and see if the wind picks up a little bit or shifts. That may be what is blowing in, but so far they're pretty calm.
Trying to catch some NFL scores on the board there. Did I see that Tampa Bay beat Atlanta 48-10 in Ray Perkins' first game?
I didn't notice it.
And that rain, meantime, is reported all around this ballpark in the Toronto area, but mercifully has not hit here yet. Laureano with a 1-0 count has had a couple of hits today, and he scored twice. Facing Neil Allen, who's been nothing short of brilliant since coming on as the third Yankee pitcher.
Blue Jays have had just 5 hits so far in this game.
Hale off the handle. He fists it down to the second baseman Randolph. Laureano gone here in the 8th inning.
There's another one of those off-speed pitches that's with a little sinking action that he's got the left-handers to ground to Willie Randolph. So perhaps Mark Connors has finally got Neil Allen to change speeds instead of being a one-speed pitcher, hard curve and hard fastball.
Yeah, he's used that to get 3 of the last 4 outs from Randolph.
There was a stretch a few years ago, as I recall. In fact, I think he was with the Cardinals when he had a pretty good changeup, and then I don't know if he just lost it or gave up on it.
Mosby, base hit RBI in the 5th inning. And really, the Blue Jays have not been heard from since then. That was the 4th run he brought home, scored by Nelson Laureano. 8-4 for the Yanks on a 13-hit assault. The Jays have had but 5. And for a change, he's behind a hitter at 2-0 to Mosby. There's a strike, 2-1. Well, we'll look at the Labatt's player of the game prospects a little later on here. Laureano had a nice day, couple of hits for the Jays. Pulled foul by Mosby. For the Yankees, well, he got several candidates. He got 3 with home runs. Gary Ward homered and tripled.
And walked, stole a base, scored 3 runs. Henderson's been in the middle of a couple of things, but at this point it appears like Gary Ward, huh?
Looks that way.
Another off-speed pitch.
Didn't give much. Mattingly, unassisted, records the 2nd out. So Tony Fernandez not only wants to keep the inning alive, but his 18-game hit streak. Tony today has walked, grounded out, and hit into a double play.
Shortstop, number 1, Tony.
3 shy of a club record. Would like to keep it going here, and the Blue Jays' chances going in the late innings against the Yankees.
A big thing for this Toronto Ball Club down through the rest of September and early October is going to be to gain that killer instinct. Even the division-winning year, they struggle at the end. Doyle Alexander finished off the Yankees the second last game of the season. Last year, near the end, they struggled quite a bit. I think they're a little more seasoned. They know more about themselves and the league. They're more mature, obviously. They've got some more veterans on the bench. And you hope that, the Blue Jay fan, that they can, you know, today's an example. Got a 3-0 lead, and you say, hey, get Trout out of there early, let's polish them off, and the Yankees did come back.
Well, they had a solo home run. Okay, that's only 1. They got another. Well, it's now 3-2, and then everything broke loose. 2 strikes to Fernandez, and he takes a 3rd. That could take care of the hitting streak as Tony goes 0 for the day. So Allen, a very impressive relief pitcher now, has retired 9 straight. And the White Sox may be wondering why they let this guy go. 8 complete on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Only it's sprinkling here yet. Just a pedestrian Le Mans start for the parking lot here among many people this afternoon as the top of the 9th inning finds the Yankees ahead 8-4. Dave Steve working for the Jays at a good 8th inning. Pitches here to Willie Randolph and starts him with a strike.
Well, if Dave Steve was irritated by being put in the bullpen, he hasn't shown it the way he's thrown today.
No.
Throwing some good sliders.
He's gone out to
Randolph to go out to pitch a good sinker down low in the strike zone.
He's doing his job.
He is competitive enough to want to battle his way back into the starting rotation. Another good slider.
You know that. 1 gone in the Yankee 9th.
Yeah, people have questioned Dave's attitude his first few years here. I don't think that's been a question for him over the last couple of years. He's gotten along very well with his teammates. Overall, you're always going to have little disagreements. One thing they will never take away from him, that intense desire to be a good player. And right now, if this is an irritant by him going to the bullpen, I think it could serve a very good purpose, and perhaps that's why Jimmy Williams is doing it.
As he's tried to do by resting Barfield, maybe giving him time to reflect, and Jesse's bounced back well after those days off.
Well, Jimmy's saying, okay, now you reprove yourself. You prove to me that you deserve to be back in the starting rotation.
Mattingly sprays that to Bell in left, but he's got room for the second out. So Steve just trying to hold the line right here. Much of the Yankee damage has been done with an 8-4 lead on 13 hits. At last report, Tigers led Milwaukee 1-0 over at County Stadium. That's the last we've seen.
Hey, 4 runs is not that much to overcome. Not the way, Dave Righetti's been warming up. Don't know if he's coming in. Allen has pitched such a strong thing in relief. There's Righetti, but Righetti's given up a lot of leads this year. Unlike last year, the second half, he was all but unbeatable, unhittable. So he was worn out from last year's record-setting pace. And you get into the Yankee bullpen, you never know where the guy's coming up. Bell, Upshaw, Barfield scheduled. Who knows?
Well, and he hasn't had many innings lately, unless Allen has tired and run the course. I wouldn't want to go away from him if I were Lou Piniella, but that could be the case. Good stop by Mullenix. He guns him down. Well, Steve gets it done again. 3 up, 3 down, retiring 3 tough ones. Randolph, Mattingly, and Winfield. So the Jays, one more gasp coming on the Bats Blue Jays baseball at CTV. There's a few thunderclouds roar around Exhibition Stadium in the distance. The Blue Jays come to the 9th inning, trailing the Yankees by 4 runs. This one turned around and got away on them after a 3-0 start on the first. But they got some bats here to get back into it. Bell, Upshaw, and Barfield scheduled.
Well, Neil Allen certainly hasn't shown any vulnerability, and sometimes his control leaves him, but not today. He's been coming out there and just throwing strikes with the hard-breaking ball, with that changeup, the occasional fastball.
He has faced the minimum and retired them in order in the 6th, 7th, and 8th inning.
Let's see if George is up there. He didn't call it a strike, did he?
Yeah, I think so. As he leaned back from it. Now Bell smashes that to left field for an inning-opening single. His second hit today. Hope springs eternal down by the lake.
Where do you pitch this guy? Some teams try and get the ball up and in on him. You take low and away pitches the opposite way. What a great natural talent. George Bell with a bat in his hands. Mattingly playing behind him at first, as you see.
And it's high to Upshaw.
Interesting to see if a little pressure is put on Neil Allen right now, if he can respond, get the necessary out to close this game. Some say that's been a problem for him in his recent career.
There's a good solid strike, 1-1.
It's a lot easier to pitch when you're 3 or 4 runs down, or you got a 4-run lead where you can be nice and easy. Get a few base runners, put a little pressure on, then you find out. Blue Jays may do that. We'll see.
Strike 2, 1-2.
How in the world with that kind of stuff when this guy has been shuttled around to so many different teams?
You really wonder, don't you? And he just doesn't do it consistently. Shot takes high, 2-2. Bell's at first base to start the inning. Jays needing 4 runs to pull even with the Yankees.
George Bell already alerted by Billy Smith at first. Don't get double off. Your run means nothing. Make the ball hit the ground.
Popped him up. Meacham going back will give way now to the left fielder, and Henderson makes the catch for the first out. Jesse Barfield. 0 for 2 and a walk today. Reminder, Baltimore and the Jays Wednesday on CTV, and on Sunday at Yankee Stadium we'll have the Jays and the Yanks for you a week from today.
Looking forward to going to the zoo?
Yeah, it's always fun up there. Once you're in there, getting to and from the ballpark isn't a lot of fun sometimes. Not my favorite neighborhood. 1-0. Of course, you're so familiar with the surroundings there. You breeze in and out like you used to do, own the place.
Yeah, a lot of the single players who stay right up the hill. Grand Concourse.
Oh, yeah, in the old days.
Ballpark,
Yeah.
stop at the local deli.
It's all a different story now.
Blue Jays need a big hit right now to kind of shock Neil Allen. Maybe even force Righetti into the ball game. Boy,
Keeps throwing those strikes in such a variety of pitches. The fastball, the good breaking ball. He'll change speeds on you.
how was it Roger Angel, one of his great books and one of the great baseball writers, described a good curveball like Carl Erskine? He said it was like putting a dime into a pay telephone and watching it disappear and drop down.
Yeah.
That's what his curveball looks like today.
Oh, Meacham can't handle it. He's got nothing. Over to
George,
third base,
watch out.
goes Bell.
George got away with one with 4 runs down. He threw a little shock into John McLaren, the third base coach, when he saw Bell coming 4 runs down with the ball just trickled away from Meacham, and then he flipped it away. So it's still alive.
Well, it won't happen today, of course, but that's the kind of play that has sent Meacham down to Columbus in a hurry.
You know, there's a possibility they could give him 2 errors. An error for the ground ball, not getting a runner at all, then another error for throwing it away, allowing Bell to go to third base. We'll see what the official scorer says. So we may see Dave Righetti, who's loose if Lou Piniella needs him. Last year, the second half after the All-Star game, I think it was something like 29 save possibilities for Righetti, and he converted on 28 of them. That's how awesome he was the second half. But going for that record for saves for a season may have taken a little bit of the edge off that lasted right into this year. Right in this ballpark last year when he threw the ball over the right field fence was when he kicked in and really had a red-hot second half. Allen did a good job.
Yes, he did. And
should have been out of it.
The obvious move for Lou here with Leach, Mullenix, Witt, left-handed hitters coming up. But we've talked about it before. This time of year, there's a bigger bench for Jimmy Williams. He can provide some alternatives here in a pinch-hitting sense.
Righetti, 7 wins, 4 losses. He has 26 saves, but his control has not been good. 42 bases on balls and 82 2/3, and the strikeout for running pitch has gone down. ERA higher. He just lost, as they say, a yard off his fastball, and his slider hasn't been as hard either.
This is not his favorite ballpark. Remember, he tossed one over the outfield fence in frustration, and Friday, upon losing the game, went in and knocked a few things over, made a ruckus in the Yankee locker room. But you're right, wildness has cost him this season.
That's when George Steinbrenner had an inclination to fine him big money until Lou Piniella made the comments to the writers. He said, I like what I saw. He said, I like that he got mad and showed that he really cares and let his frustration all come out in that toss over the right field fence.
George said, oh, well, that's okay then. If you say so, Lou.
But that's when Lou and George were on good terms.
Yes.
Don't know what the terms are now. And any day now, for the 2 losses in the first 2 games in here, you keep waiting for George Steinbrenner to issue a vote of confidence to his manager.
1-1, the Brewers tie it up in the bottom of the 8th inning at County Stadium. And, of course, the Jays looking for more Milwaukee support this afternoon to, they don't pull this one out against the Yankees, at least retain their 1-game advantage.
We'll see Garth Orson as a pinch hitter who got a big base hit in the Milwaukee series in a pinch hit situation. And Jimmy Williams put it in, a double in the left field corner. Another veteran can come off the bench.
Orch hitting for Rick Leach. That is the DH spot. First occupied by Benitez, then Leach, now Orch.
And we have some very, very black clouds coming over the ballpark now.
Yeah, if the Jays are going to rally, let's hope they do it with haste, because it looks like about sundown here.
He loved to jump on the first pitch.
Takes it high, ball 1. That has been part of Righetti's problem, getting behind hitters.
Well, you got the tying run and Manny Lee in the on-deck circle now.
Orch down to Randolph.
Oh.
He made sure of that. Catches that on the fly.
Good base running by Jesse. Billy Smith put it in his head. Your run means nothing. And it's hard because he's saying, get a good jump to try and break up a double play, but don't get doubled off. And this is a hard judgment call for Barfield. If he short hops that ball, he can go 4-6-3. So Jesse did a nice piece of base running right there.
So Manny Lee with 2 out represents the potential 7th run of this game for the Jays. They trail 8-4. Ernie Whitt on deck, but this is the last life for Toronto right here with Lee. Don't forget tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, CTV brings you Showdown 2 of the Soviets and Team Canada from Hamilton. 8-4 here, 1-1 Tigers and Brewers in Milwaukee. And that is a first pitch strike to Manny Lee. He has not seen very much action since coming back from Syracuse. But Jimmy has got, albeit from the right side, a rusty hitter to face Righetti.
Manny Lee 1 for 1 as a pinch hitter this year.
2 strikes to him as he fouls that offering off.
Be interesting what happens with Manny Lee during the offseason. He, you know, with so many teams looking for a shortstop who can play every day. The Yankees may be one. The Houston Astros have tired a lot of people there since Dickie Thon left. He has some value.
Sure, he'd be very attractive.
I don't know if they're going to trade him or not. I mean, with Fernandez there, and he's nice to have as a backup guy. Boy, he's a pretty valuable commodity, Manny Lee. Switch hitting middle infielder.
Just missed, 1-2.
Dodgers are looking for a shortstop.
Dodgers looking to rebuild. There's a crowd reacting to that 1-1 score we told you about, 8th inning at Milwaukee. Lee keeps it alive. Racing into left field. The 5th run is home, brought in by George Bell. Don't go away.
The last 2 days' hero is coming up right now. He represents the tying run. Manny Lee keeps it alive.
Now again, Williams makes the right move. He's got a lightly used little hitter coming in with not a great deal of power, but he punches it in. With the dark skies around, could this be lightning a 3rd time for the Yankees in the person of Ernie Whitt? Righetti knows he's got a hot hitter to face to get out of this one. Whitt represents the tying run.
And Jimmy knows, and I don't know if he's told Ernie, he's a veteran, he doesn't have to tell him, up until 2 strikes, we want you to get a fastball you can rip out of here. And that's on Ernie's mind.
Strike 1. Eight-5 Yankees. Strike 2 to win. How many times have we seen this Toronto team down to 2 outs and 2 strikes bounce back?
Jimmy Williams has used 19 players in this game.
He wheels them around, doesn't he? Woo, close, but it's ball 1.
What a tough slider to take, huh?
Oh, I'll say. I almost expected Barnett's right arm to go up and bring these proceedings to a halt, but it's alive.
They yelled from the Yankee dugout, and Barnett had to look over and say the ball's away, outside. But Canelo was arguing for this pitch, not the last one. He hopes he'll get a close call from Barnett on this one.
Popped up and out of play.
Now a few flashes of lightning in the distance.
Yeah. Well, if Bernie gets into one, it would certainly light up the balance of this crowd, which is now sparse by comparison to the 45,000 plus who came in. The Jays go over the 2.4 million mark in attendance today. But the diehards hang in, hoping. gets it done. Yesterday's hero cannot do it today. And the
wicked
Yankees
slider.
hang on.
They forced, the Blue Jays did, Fennell to bring Righetti in, and he threw a great breaking ball.
Might have been ball 2, but Ernie couldn't hold up on it, and the Yankees salvage a win here, having been beaten the first 2 days in this series. They win it today by an 8-5 score, coming from behind to do it over the Blue Jays. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball from Toronto on CTV. It began with the weather. Both very promising, but both deteriorating rapidly. And as of the moment, the Blue Jays have a half-game lead over the Tigers, but the issue in Milwaukee is not settled yet. 1-1 in the 9th inning now. The Yankees, at least temporarily, are 6 games off the pace. Milwaukee 6.5 back, and they are just trying to beat these contenders and get as close as they possibly can. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Labatt's Blue Jays baseball has been brought to you by Esso. Stop in and fill up with the No Trouble gasoline. And by Labatt's Blue, the proud sponsor of the '88 Olympic Winter Games. This has been a special presentation of CTV Sports, produced in association with TV Labatt and protected by copyright. Any use of this telecast without permission is prohibited. The final score, the Yankees beat the Blue Jays 8-5. The winning pitcher, Charlie Hudson, and the loser, John Cerruti. The Labatt's players of the game for Toronto, Nelson Liriano, who will receive the new Canon EOS, and for New York, Neil Allen, who will receive the Hitachi DA400. As well, 2 amateur baseball teams will be the guest of Nelson Liriano, Canon, and Hitachi at a future game. Our next CTV telecast, Wednesday, September the 16th, when the Blue Jays will host the Baltimore Orioles. Check your local listings.
An old feud between 2 comedians is no laughing matter. In fact, it could be deadly. Tonight on Murder, She Wrote. And next, the finest riders in the world compete in the Spruce Meadows International.
This is the CTV Television Network.